I woke up on a warm brick bed, surrounded by faces I knew all too well. My father Tom, then my mother Martha, my older brother Frank and second brother Greg, staring right down at me. This rundown room was log sealed with mud and dung. Bitter smoke rose from burning corn cobs in the fire. It was 1977 and I was back. My name is Jack, and get this, I was reborn. In my very last life. I died old and completely alone in a hospital bed, eaten by throat cancer, totally unable to speak a single word. Those exact same relatives. They stood surrounding me now, circling me like vultures, waiting to carve up my fortune. I spent decades building, making every cent the hard way, surviving the brutal wilderness, working as a tough mercenary in Siberia, then trading goods until I built a massive empire, and they wanted every single cent of it. But wait, before all that, before the money and those years of total loneliness, there was Lucy. She was a pretty city girl, who ended up coming to our mountain village. We got married early that very year. She got pregnant soon, but because she was quite frail, the local work team cut her off. No more work points and absolutely no food rations. Keeping her fed fell entirely on me, and I barely earned enough to feed myself. Then my mother Martha heard it from some fortune teller that Lucy's baby was just a girl. That was all. She started screaming about splitting up the entire family. My parents, Frank and Greg, none of them wanted to share precious food with a pregnant woman who couldn't work anymore. So they called this family meeting just to throw me out. Right in the dead of winter in these mountains. I remember exactly what happened next. Back in my first life, Lucy and I lived in a wooden forest shack. 2 days later, heavy snow completely crushed the shack. Lucy and our unborn baby froze to death. I was hunting way up in the cold mountains, desperately trying to find her some food. I returned to find her body completely stiff and cold. My heart died right there. From that moment on, I never loved anyone else. And the absolute worst part, the one who basically sealed Lucy's fate was Greg. Back when the snow started falling, Lucy actually dragged herself back to our family's house, begging them to help fix our broken shack. Greg demanded $300 first. $300 from a pregnant woman, can you believe that? That is my brother now. Here he is, kicking my leg, screaming at me to stop pretending to be asleep. Something inside me snapped. I grabbed Greg by the throat and slammed him against the wall. He couldn't breathe or even fight back. This bastard never expected me to be this strong. His wife Martha started screaming hysterically. Frank and our father tried to pull me off, but even 3 grown men couldn't move me. I let go on my own. Killing him would feel great, but that would make me a fugitive. I could easily vanish into the woods, crossing the border without any trouble. But Lucy couldn't survive that while pregnant. My plans had to be bigger. I sat back down, coldly staring at them all. Forget some simple family split, I said. Let's sign a paper that cuts all ties completely. We sign it, file it with the commune, and we are done. I am out of this family. The entire room went dead silent. Families split up assets all the time, but no one had ever heard of completely severing ties with their own actual blood. The whole village would brand me as ungrateful, disloyal, a monster. I did not care. God gave me a second chance, and this time, I was going to make sure Lucy stayed alive. And these miserable people, every single one of them, were going to regret what they did to us. Cut ties, my father Tom screamed. His face went red. You can throw your own reputation away, but I won't ruin mine. If you think we owe you anything, take 10 pounds of corn and get out of here. I didn't even flinch. I knew exactly how to trigger them. Whether you agree or not, I'm writing the document tonight. And if you don't sign, just remember this. The commune hands out grain at the year's end. Lucy and I count as 2 mouths in this household. That food gets split per person, not by who worked the most. That did it. Frank and Greg immediately started pulling at Martha's sleeves, whining about their own children and wives needing food. Greg's wife was pregnant again, and Frank's boys were growing fast. They absolutely hated the idea of sharing even a single grain with Lucy. Martha was the real boss of this house. She had a soft heart, but only for Frank and Greg, never toward me. Get this. She blamed me for almost killing her during childbirth, since after my birth, she couldn't have any more children. And in a mountain village where everyone had 7 or 8 kids, having only 3 sons was considered shameful, and she blamed me for every bit of it. Fine, cut them off. Martha sneered, squeezing out a couple of fake tears. I should have never raised this ungrateful animal. The further away he gets, the better. I grabbed an old, yellowed piece of paper and sharpened a piece of charcoal into a makeshift pencil. I drafted the document in seconds, then forced Tom and Martha to press their thumbprints right beside their names. Once the village leader filed this with the local commune, we would legally be total strangers. You leave tonight, Martha barked out, and don't you dare take a single thing from this house. Just picture this. It was night in the mountains, dozens of degrees below freezing out there. She was literally tossing me out into that freezing cold. And she called it justice. Unbelievable. I just said Lucy and I are leaving. From now on, we are strangers. I walked out of that main house straight toward the west wing, a pretty rough shack made entirely of packed dirt. Lucy and I had been sleeping on a bare wooden plank, right beside the hot cooking stove, while Greg and his wife enjoyed the cozy brick bed just on the other side of that wall. But now that we were leaving, Greg was going to have the whole place to himself. Naturally he would. When I finally stepped outside, I caught a faint candle glowing through the paper-thin door of our tiny west wing, and suddenly, my legs completely froze up. All that rage from when I choked Greg just vanished instantly. I honestly had no idea what to say to her. How do you face the woman you failed so completely in your past life? Right then, the door creaked open and Lucy looked out. Her face was pale, wearing a pretty faded floral print cotton jacket, so worn out that it had completely lost its color. "Jack, did your parents actually decide to split us up?" she asked softly. My chest felt like dozens of sharp needles were piercing it. Look at the pure regret hitting him now. Back then, I was always away, just working endlessly. Never back home. When others targeted her during heavy work duties, I never once defended her. When my family treated her like dirt, I just told her to tolerate it. She was just a girl from the warm southern coast, thousands of miles from home. Yet she never complained. Not once. Not about that brutal, freezing cold, or my heavy smoking and the filth. She didn't even mention her parents. She kept entirely quiet about her background, since their political status was pretty terrible, and she wanted to avoid causing me any trouble. If I failed a wonderful woman like her again, I'd truly be worse than any animal. Forget about just splitting the family, Lucy. I'm cutting all ties with them completely. Pack up our things. We are leaving tonight. Sure, Martha told me not to take anything, but I'm no idiot. I've earned work points since I was 14, barely eating while giving everything to this household. Those supplies belong to me. Besides, I needed real tools to fix up that forest cabin, firewood to stay warm, supplies to cook with, and Lucy is pregnant. No way was I letting her leave with absolutely nothing, except for the clothes on her back. And honestly, we all know trouble is coming. I will deal with it later. Lucy's thin eyebrows creased with deep worrying. She only expected a simple family split, something she'd heard about since moving north. But cutting ties completely, back in the south where she came from, that was basically like having your name scratched out of the family records forever. Meanwhile, back in the main house, the family sat around the brick bed, acting like nothing happened. Gwen, Greg's wife, was gently rubbing medicine on those red marks I left on his neck. Frank mentioned someone should probably go check on me, to make sure I wasn't taking anything. But Greg wasn't going anywhere near me, trying to act tough, of course. He whined that he was injured, send someone else. But let's be real, he was totally terrified. He remembered how easily I pinned him to that wall. My father, Tom, spoke up, saying I wouldn't take anything. That boy's been incredibly stubborn since he was little, back when we told him to eat less, so Frank and Greg could have way more. He would go without eating a single grain of rice. Now his mother told him not to take anything. Knowing his stubbornness, he'll strip naked and walk out just to prove a point. They all nodded, but nobody came to check on me. That was their first mistake inside the West Wing. I swept through like a raiding army. Anything remotely useful, I grabbed. Pots, pans, bowls, sickles, hoes, blankets. Lucy watched me with wide, shocked eyes. She had never seen me behave like this. Next, I grabbed the thick cotton quilt Gwen was saving to sew a fancy new outfit for the new year. Lucy noticed and whispered nervously, "Jack, wait, that belongs to your sister-in-law." I almost laughed. She gets fancy new clothes, while you and I do not even have a decent blanket. That cotton came right from our share of the rations. They literally stole what belonged to us. And it was true. No joke, Lucy and I owned exactly one set of clothes between us. When the weather got warm, we shed that padded jacket, washed it, and just waited for it to dry. When the cold returned, we pulled it right back on over everything else. See, Lucy always liked staying clean, so every time she washed her only clothes, She had to wrap herself in our thin blanket and carefully hold the wet clothes over the stove on a stick. Meanwhile, Gwen had plenty of extra cotton to sew a gorgeous new outfit. I knew exactly where all that cotton came from. The greedy family had been taking our share this entire time. Everything here is rightfully ours, Lucy. Do not feel even slightly guilty about it. And I promise you, once we finally leave this house, nobody is ever going to mistreat you again. I am going to spoil you rotten. Her pale cheeks quickly turned pink. She had never heard me speak like that before. I packed everything into 3 massive bundles, close to 400 pounds total. Since being reborn, my body was way stronger than my previous life. I threw the heavy bundles across a carrying pole and hoisted them right onto my shoulders, as if they weighed nothing. Honestly, Lucy stared at me like a total stranger. Then she glances toward the stove and speaks softly, offering him his pipe and tobacco. Instantly, Jack reaches out, by pure instinct, but pauses in midair. In his past life, smoking literally gave him cancer. That stupid habit was what ultimately killed him. No way. Watch him pull his hand back. He decides he is completely done. And she is pregnant. He refuses to let her breathe in secondhand smoke. Lucy has no idea what that even means, but she is intelligent enough to get his point. In her old village, folks always used to say that a man truly proves his love for family solely by giving up the habit. Her eyes instantly tear up. All that heavy anxiety she had been holding onto about their future completely melts away. Jack gently takes her cold hand in his. Together, they finally walk out of the front yard. He unlatches the gate. The metallic click echoes sharply through the quiet, icy air, traveling straight to the main house. Hearing this, Greg lets out an absolute sigh of relief. Without Jack around, his life is finally going to be easy. He grabs Gwen and eagerly heads back to their room, completely forgetting his sleeping kids in the main hall. Watching them go, Frank mutters under his breath, while a bitter Tom prepares to complain. Suddenly, a loud shriek pierces the silence. Mom, Dad. Yep, Jack actually cleaned them out completely. An old ranger cabin stands deep at the forest edge, just a short walk from town. Most villages throughout these mountains were situated right at the base of the hills. Everyone survived off the land for generations. This place was originally built for someone to guard the timber and stop illegal loggers. However, the town never actually hired a guard, so it remained abandoned for anyone to claim. Jack shoves open the rotting door and peers in. Cold wind whistles through the walls. Inside, it is dark, with only a clay bed, a broken stove, 2 stools, and scattered empty wine bottles, left on a dusty shelf by lonely drunks seeking a quiet drink. Suddenly, Lucy grabbed my sleeve tight. Jack, I am scared. But wait, as I lit the lamp, I noticed something crazy. She was completely blind in this dark, but I could. Somehow, every tiny detail of the room was crystal clear. My vision had changed alongside my crazy new strength. Another crazy gift of regression, right? I kept that secret. Then, I found a dusty old oil lamp with some fuel left. When I lit it, a warm glow slowly filled the tiny room. Instantly, the place did not look so bad. Sit down, Lucy. You have walked quite enough. Let me get the fire going. Cleaning the bed, laying out blankets. I truly wanted to pour every bit of my kindness into her. Make up for everything. Everything I completely failed to do during my first life. Honestly, there was a ton of work to finish tonight. Fire up the stove, heat the brick bed. I needed to patch the door and organize all our stolen supplies. This was our home now. In a few days, I would visit the local commune and sign up as a volunteer forestry ranger. That would make this cabin officially ours. 2 whole lifetimes. Definitely taught me to think ahead. Lucy sat quietly on a stool, watching me with pretty soft eyes. She was not used to this version of me. Honestly, we had never married for love. She was just a refined city girl sent to the countryside. But she could never survive out here alone. And I was easily the least favorite son in my family. The exact kind of guy no local girl would ever marry. Lucy's family carried a pretty bad political label, so everyone avoided her. That is the only real reason that we even ended up together at all. A gorgeous, educated city girl paired with a rough country boy. Back then, we were just 2 lost souls trying to survive. But tonight, she just watched me sweep, boil paste to seal up the drafty door with newspapers, stoking the fire, and honestly, you can feel something shifting. I worked until midnight, before the dirty cabin finally felt like a real home. Finally, I tucked her safely under the warm quilts. As the brick bed warmed up, he stripped off his sweaty clothes, wiping his body down with a towel. His new physique was incredibly lean and hard, muscles defining under the dim lamplight. Lucy blushed instantly, turning away like a bride on her wedding night. "Jack, do not catch cold. Dry off and come to bed," he replied, filthy. "Let me wash up first." Sure, a real bath is impossible tonight, but he promised to wash every single day. She probably thought he had changed into a different man, giving up smoking, wanting to be clean, being so gentle. The old Jack would never do this. Climbing onto the warm brick bed, he told her to slide over to the warm side near the stove. The colder side by the wall would be his. "I must wake up early tomorrow," he muttered. "Do not wake you." It was a pretty weak excuse for a massive bed like this. No one actually wakes up from that. But his real reason, pure gold. The side near the stove stayed warm all night long, while the wall side got freezing cold. This cabin lacked the insulation of a proper village house. He just wanted her to be warm. "Jack, you are so good to me," she whispered, keeping her face buried deep in the quilt. Her shoulders were shaking as she quietly cried. She had moved north at 16, spending 3 years chopping heavy wood at a lumber camp. Then she got transferred here, where absolutely nobody treated her well. She married him at 20, just hoping for some kindness. Marrying into a household that hated her. He had never protected her, never made her feel safe. But now, for once, someone was genuinely taking care of her completely. He held her like she was precious. Naturally, she could not stop crying, and he did not tell her to stop. A man should not. I pulled her close, wrapping my warmth around her, resting my face right against her hair, holding her tight and promising tomorrow will be better. She slowly turned around and held me back too, breathing me in and whispering, "Jack, tomorrow will definitely be better." With a gentle smile, she fell asleep right in my arms. The next morning, I opened my eyes and saw sunlight streaming right through the window onto the brick bed. Lucy was still sleeping peacefully right beside me. My heart finally settled after being so terrified that I would wake up and find this was all just a dream. Honestly, living in this forest has its perks. At least there is no annoying rooster screaming at dawn. I quietly slipped out of bed without making a sound, got dressed and grabbed my axe, plus a knife and a slingshot. The mountains were buried deep in snow. Nobody from the village would dare wander out here during this freezing season, which meant the wild animals were everywhere. Snow rabbits, wild pheasants, even those dumb reindeer that just stand and stare. I knew tomorrow, the biggest blizzard of the entire year, was coming. That meant today I had to stock up on food. And tomorrow, I would not leave Lucy's side for a single second. And believe me, I was not letting history repeat itself. My goal was pretty simple. Catch some wild birds to make a warm soup for Lucy, something to rebuild her strength, and if I could somehow bag a roe deer, even better. I knew this forest like the back of my hand. In my past life, right after Lucy died, I spent an entire year hunting throughout these woods. I even sold the game for money. The official state purchasing station paid about 80 cents a pound for roe deer, which was basically robbery. But on the black market in the county town, a 60-pound deer could easily fetch $80. That's how I made my first real money in my past life. But this time, my body feels stronger, my eyes sharper. The second I step outside, I immediately spot a fresh trail of oval-shaped dents in the snow. Rabbit tracks. These snow rabbits turn totally white in winter, making them pretty much invisible. But they still can't hide footprints. I track them straight to some dead grass, where I find a tiny burrow. They are clever, usually digging 2 or 3 exits before winter hits. So I circle around and spot the second escape hole, about 6 feet away, obviously linked to the first. I pack a hard snowball, nice and tight, chuck it down one hole, and bolt to the other exit. Right on cue, the rabbit rushes out. The exact moment those ears peek out, my hand whips down, grabbing it firmly by the neck. One squeeze, snap. Just like that, it's over, easily 10 pounds. Nice and fat. I'll skin this thing later. To make Lucy a pair of warm fur gloves. Her hands are always freezing cold, covered in painful sores. Now watch this, my luck explodes. Just ahead, I see a bunch of black dots moving between the trees. Black pheasants, the absolute best kind. Locals call them the wild black chicken of the Northeast region. Regular chickens sell for about $1 in town. But these, they go for $3 or $4 a piece, because the meat is super rich, tasty, and packed with nutrients. Perfect for Lucy. I load a pebble into my slingshot, aim right at the nearest bird, and let rip. The stone hits it directly in the head. It drops sideways into the snow without making a sound, with blood trickling from its beak. I can barely believe my own aim. I was only aiming for a body shot. Headshot, pure bonus. My reborn body is not just stronger. My coordination is on a different level. I shoot 3 more times, dropping 3 more birds, before the rest of the flock finally scatters. 4 black pheasants and a snow rabbit. In under 30 minutes flat, I headed straight back to our cabin. Lucy needed her breakfast, and I had to clean and prepare all of it. Then I would start on lunch. As for heading to the village to work, I completely put that out of my mind. Working for that local production team earned you 10 work points a day. Each point, only for cents. That is 40 cents for a full day. A great month brought in $15. One hard worker might save $150 yearly. And honestly, most families could not manage that. There was a poor village woman named Mary. Her husband was paralyzed from the waist down. She had a 4-year-old daughter, and she owed that production team nearly $2,000, just trying to keep her family alive, plus paying for medicine in 1977. That was over 10 years of wages. But my 30 minutes of hunting just bagged me for black pheasants, which would sell for $15 in town. Seriously, the math speaks for itself. That same morning out in the fields, where the village men did winter work, clearing land and digging ditches, the team accountant, a man named Lee, noticed I was missing. I had not skipped one workday all year, except the day I took Lucy to the clinic, and the day we got married, so he went straight to my father, Tom, to ask what happened. But before Tom could say anything, Greg jumped right in, spitting absolute poison. Jack is dead. Do not ever ask our family about him. He does not exist. Lee puffed on his pipe, understanding. So you split the family, huh? That is fine. I will just tell our team leader, so we can calculate your year-end grain separately. But Greg was far from done, having stewed in anger all night, growing more furious by the second. Gwen had been shrieking at him for hours, all over that stolen quilt, the exact one she wanted to use for clothes. Greg lost his mind. He actually thrashed her with a shoe sole, leaving her completely unable to stand up. Naturally, he desperately needed a scapegoat. This is not some family split, but a full cut. Since we cut ties now. That shameless thief completely cleaned us out. I want him caught, dragged straight to the commune and publicly humiliated. Old Tom's face flushed bright red. He was desperately trying to keep things quiet. Family shame should stay hidden. But Greg was literally airing their dirty laundry to everyone. Back then, getting publicly paraded was absolute hell. They would march you through the entire village, with the crowd screaming insults. When the culprit gets ruined like that, the entire family is utterly blacklisted too. Tom could not stop him. Martha had completely spoiled her son rotten, so Tom practically ran to find Frank, hoping the eldest brother could finally talk some sense into him. But Greg was already dragging poor Lee straight to the local headquarters to file an official, devastating report. Meanwhile, I had zero clue about the drama. Actually, I was having the best morning of both my lives. Lucy was already awake when I returned from hunting, folding blankets on the brick bed. She seemed pretty shocked to see me, thinking I was at work. No more slave labor for that team. I grinned, holding up my massive fresh catch. 4 black pheasants and a rabbit. We are living off the land now. And her eyes went wide. She mentioned that back at the old lumber camp, the grown men spend hours chasing these exact birds and rabbits through the thick forest without ever catching a single one. First, I started the millet porridge, then boiled water to pluck and clean the birds. Next up, roasting the rabbit, saving the warm fur to make gloves for Lucy. 2 of the pheasants were for us, 1 stir-fried, and 1 stewed in rich broth to keep Lucy healthy. The other 2, I would sell at the local station. Prices were pretty low, but town was 5 miles away, and I could not waste hours running back and forth. Not today. While the chicken boiled and the rabbit slowly roasted, and the rice steamed, I kept moving. I kept twisting wire and rope to build more animal traps. Outside, I hauled logs to reinforce the cabin walls and roof. A brutal storm was coming, and we know it had to hold. I was not losing Lucy to a collapsing roof. Never again, not ever. Lucy sat nearby, mending my old fur hat, with a needle and thread as the fire crackled. The food smelled absolutely incredible, and for a few hours, it felt like we were the only people left in the world. Then, I heard heavy footsteps crunching through the snow outside. Captain Kong, you must arrest them, and parade them through town. We have not had a single thief in this town for decades. That was the voice of Greg. Shut up, Greg. Whether he is a thief or not, I decide, not you. You have been yapping the whole way, Captain. There is the ranger cabin up ahead. Someone is definitely inside. Someone is in there, all right. Whatever is cooking in that chimney smells amazing. I put down the ladle and took a breath. The trouble from last night had found its way to me. The militia kicked open my cabin door, and two guys with semi-automatic rifles stepped inside. Right behind Captain Khan, the village team leader. I did not expect guns, but I adapted pretty quickly. These militia guys were just on winter labor duty. Kong just dragged them along, just to look intimidating. This was 1977 in the Northeast. Laws were super loose. Militia guys carried rifles everywhere, like walking sticks. Then Kong immediately started in on me. You think this ranger cabin is yours, he barks. This is team property, I snapped back. The cabin belongs to the commune forestry station, not your team, so you have absolutely no say here. He wanted to frame me for occupying public property. That could get me dragged before the entire village for a humiliating public shaming session. Yet, his facts were totally wrong, and he could not just call up the station. But wait, watch how he instantly switches angles. Fine, explain all this stuff here. Your brother claims you stole it all from the family. Greg pushed in right behind him, eyes scanning everywhere, landing on the hot chicken soup, the roasting rabbit, and 3 pheasants hanging in the corner. His face twisted with ugly greed. Captain Kong, everything in here is stolen, he yells. The pots, the blankets, those tools, the chickens. The rabbit is all stolen from our house. Then he sneers at me, bringing up last night. Didn't you? Well, now someone is finally here to handle you. Honestly, the sheer nerve of this greedy guy. Claiming animals I caught this morning came from him. But I am not worried. In my past life, I built an empire, knowing exactly how to handle people. Far worse than Greg. If he wants to play dirty, I can out-shameless him 10 times over. Those rabbits and chickens, I hunted them this morning. I say calmly, and the rest is from home. Captain Kong, is that actually against the law? Taking things back from your own family home? Greg completely exploded, screaming that we cut ties last night. He called me a parentless animal with no family left. I just marched up and slapped his face. With barely half my strength, he hit the floor. Kong and his 2 militiamen didn't even move. Nobody in any generation ever gets involved in private family business. Calling your own blood brother an animal, right before strangers, I said. If I'm an animal, then so are you. So are our parents. Take this as a harsh lesson from our parents. Lucy stood right behind me, watching quietly. Honestly, you could tell she was absolutely loving this revenge. Greg and Gwen had treated her the worst, back when we shared that West Wing. This was sweet revenge, and Greg scrambled up, shrieking at Kong. He assaulted me. We already severed our relationship. That's assault. Kong stepped right in front of Greg. With narrowed eyes, he wasn't there to help Greg. He just hated my whole family. What he truly wanted was to drag me to the commune for a public shaming. That would completely ruin our family name. Cut ties or not, for hundreds of years now, nobody in our entire village had ever heard of a family cutting ties. Total scandal either way. So is it actually true? Kong asked. You cut ties, then. But I saw right through his little game. If he could confirm that severed bond, then me taking things from the house would legally be theft. So I acted clueless, saying a real breakup needs a signed paper, complete with everyone's thumbprints. Go ahead and report this straight to the commune, or the county, but without that paper, you've got nothing. The paper is on him. Search him, Greg shouted. Kong stepped right toward me without hesitating. Then his eyes quickly slid over to Lucy, and I immediately saw that disgusting, hungry look on his face. I'd seen men look at her that way. Lucy was easily the most gorgeous woman in the entire county. Maybe all the local guys stayed away from her, simply because her family had that bad political label. But they still wanted her. Kong was desperately hoping that he wouldn't find that paper on me, giving him an excuse to search Lucy. My blood boiled, but I had to hold back. If I touched the team leader, those 2 guards would jump in. So I silently filed Captain Kong's name away. Trust me, his turn was coming. I used my words instead. Think very carefully before searching me. The citizens are the real masters of this country. My rights are protected by the law. Are you absolutely sure you want this? A relation-severing paper isn't contraband. If you can search me just because Greg claims I have a simple piece of paper, then I can search you too, because I bet you have $10 on you. And by the way, I never went to school. Nobody in my entire family has any education. Yet Greg claims I wrote a legal document. Do you actually believe that? Kong just stared, completely dazed. He could read, but just couldn't follow logic. Back in the 70s, farmers had zero legal knowledge. Local leaders behaved like they were absolute dictators, and nobody ever pushed back, because regular folks didn't even know they could. But I wasn't some average villager. I had traveled the world and built companies. I'd dealt with people 1,000 times sharper than this village captain. Honestly, the poor guy looked completely, utterly lost. Lucy watched me from right behind. Her eyes went wide. She'd never seen this side. The confidence, the sharp tongue, the utter refusal to yield. I could easily tell she was fascinated. Suddenly, one of the militiamen decided to speak up. Captain Kong, he's actually right. A relation-severing paper isn't contraband. We can't search him. The two guards had no clue why they'd been dragged out. They thought they were catching an actual thief. Just family drama. That is all. Kong backed down. He was not afraid of me, exactly. No, he feared what a stubborn man might do. When pushed to the absolute edge, the whole village knew I was basically a mule. Quiet, hardworking. I swallowed every insult, but a guy like that, cornered, with absolutely nothing left to lose. Kong had been team leader long enough to recognize it. That is when people snap. This is family business. He warned Greg, if you waste my time again with this absolute garbage, I will drag you to headquarters for a public education session. The very second Kong and his militia guys left, I glared at Greg. Get out. He could not fight me or out at me. So, clutching his badly swollen cheek, he swallowed his pride and ran. Lucy quietly shut the door and set me down on the brick bed. Jack, I am confused. Are we completely cut off from your family, or just split? Because you told Kong there was no document. We are cut off completely. I pulled the secret paper right out of my jacket and spread it right out for her. Every single name, every thumbprint. All there. She stared at it in complete surprise. She knew none of my family members could actually write anything more than their own name. Yet this document was neatly written with clear, highly professional words. I have been teaching myself from old newspapers. Since I married a smart woman like you, figured I had to keep up. She accepted that, not pushing any further. Then she asked the real, burning question. So, are you going to file this with the commune? If you do, Greg will keep hunting you. Such a smart wife, I grinned, pulling out a charcoal pencil. Watch this magic trick, I wrote. The date on the document, December 6, 1977. Today, Lucy quickly covered her mouth and laughed. She got it immediately. I literally took absolutely everything from them. On the night of December 5th, back when I was still officially part of that family. Taking things from home is not stealing. But their official tie-cutting document was dated the 6th, meaning today I was finally free of them. So cleaning them out was totally legal. Jack, you are terrible, she giggled. Bad boys get the good girls, I said, leaning in to steal a kiss. She tried dodging, protesting that we should be eating lunch instead, but I just kissed her anyway. Honestly, it had been decades since my last kiss, and her soft, sweet lips made my entire body melt. But enough romance, we had business to handle. I had to head over to the commune office and register as a volunteer forest ranger before Kong could try using my cabin against me again. Plus, I had to black pheasants to trade at the local purchasing station. But I was not leaving Lucy alone in these woods. She was pregnant, and some wild beast might wander by. Besides, cooping her up in a cabin was just unhealthy. Having lived through the 21st century, I knew expecting mothers needed to move around more, stay active, and talk to people. So I decided to bring her along to the village. Carrying that extra wild pheasant, I originally wanted to stir-fry for our dinner. Lucy nervously asked where we were going, since the local villagers were already staring at her, giving her weird looks. We were visiting Mary. She was the poor woman with the paralyzed husband and a sweet little 4-year-old daughter to feed. But get this, she was secretly swiping communal food, just to keep her family alive. Honestly, our village actually had a pretty decent setup, compared to others, featuring a shared canteen, where we all ate, throughout both busy and slow farming seasons. The big upside was that everyone got fed well, but the bad news was the leftovers. Leftovers distributed to non-workers were just never quite enough. For a struggling family like Mary's, with just one female worker carrying the weight, the system was completely crushing. She had no choice but to smuggle leftovers home. Otherwise, her paralyzed husband would starve, and her little girl wouldn't survive. So, when Lucy and I finally arrived at Mary's house, I found exactly what I expected. Mary was splitting a tiny cornbread bun into two, giving the larger half to her husband, Sam, who lay on the bed looking like a corpse, while saving the smaller piece for her 4-year-old. Daisy. The house was empty but perfectly organized, fighting to survive, even while everything fell apart around her. Jack, come in, have a seat, let me grab some water. She was always so genuinely warm, and honestly, we actually had some history together. Before Lucy ever arrived in our village, people had tried to set me up with Mary, planning a sort of helper marriage for us. I would move into her home, helping her raise Daisy while taking care of Sam, her paralyzed husband who was somehow still breathing. I almost agreed, because back then, my mother, Martha, had drilled it into my head that marriage was simply about finding a woman to cook and bear children. But then, Lucy transferred over to our village from the lumber camp, and man, the second I saw her, everything flipped. I hung the clean pheasant on her wall, and said this was for making soup for Sam and Daisy. Then, I finally got to the real point. Lucy is pregnant, and her body is quite weak. I can't always be right by her, so I really need someone to watch over her. I will pay you $1 daily, plus cover meals for you, Sam, and Daisy. But Lucy's reaction, pure fear. She was terrified that the villagers would gossip even more. A woman carrying a bad political label, suddenly hiring help like she was some wealthy, high-class lady. They already whispered constantly behind her back. Gently, I stroked her soft hair. Lucy, 1977. In just a few weeks, 78 is finally arriving. Everything is about to shift. Those deep secrets you dreaded talking about. Soon, you will be deeply proud of them. See, my past life gave me all the answers. Right after returning from overseas, I tracked Lucy's parents down in the South. Respected college professors, both of them. Her grandparents actually owned businesses. Before the system flipped, digging even deeper, high-ranking officials filled her entire family tree. 30 years later, you won't believe how respected her family becomes. Today it is a curse, but major reform is coming. Once that change sweeps over these mountains, Lucy will finally hold her head high. Mary wavered too. She really wants that chicken. Her family has not tasted meat since New Year, back when the village butchered to pigs, handing her just one single pound of pork. But if she skips work just to watch over Lucy, Captain Kong would hunt her down. That man has been harassing Mary for years now, always trying to corner her. After all, she is easily the prettiest village girl, but she refuses to break for him, which is precisely why he makes her life hell. So, I offer her a quick fix. Just claim you are visiting Lucy as a friend. Plus, a massive blizzard is hitting us in 2 days. Nobody can work in that freeze. Mary knows her own reality. She is gorgeous, but no man wants a heavy helper marriage with her. She owes $2,000 to the team. If I cover her family's food and pay $1 daily, that is $1 of pure savings, pure profit. Jack, I will do it, and my lips are sealed. Leaving Lucy with Mary, I dash straight to the commune. First stop, the local purchasing station, where I sell off to black pheasants. They hand me $3 for birds easily worth $6. I kept cursing those greedy scammers the entire way out, but I seriously needed cash, and traveling to the county town was too expensive. So my next stop was the commune office, to file the tie-cutting papers. Done and dusted. Then, I went straight to the forestry building, and applied to volunteer as a forest ranger. The chief approved my application right there. Volunteering meant zero pay, only heavy responsibility, so they were absolutely thrilled I wanted it. They were almost terrified I would back out. While sitting there, I also requested a hunting license. The staff was so incredibly grateful for my ranger application that they processed my hunting permit without question. Most local hunters here had no clue licenses even existed, and enforcement was totally non-existent. But hey, I'm from the future, we gotta play the long game. With a ranger certificate, and this fresh permit in hand, no one could legally touch me. Not Kong, not Greg, absolutely nobody. Stepping out of the office with both official documents, I could not stop grinning. The chief even casually mentioned, if I ever decided to get a firearms permit, he'd easily vouch for me with the police. Honestly, you gotta love the perks of being reborn. Before making my way back home, supply store first, had to grab goods, and spent almost every single penny. I started with only $10, plus $3 from those pheasants, giving me $13 total to spend at the shops. With $2 left, I bought 20 pounds of flour, 5 pounds of pork, some eggs, sugar, dried goods, and vitamin C tablets from the clinic. and bought some nice fabric too. 2 feet of floral print and 2 of white cloth. Plus a little surprise for Lucy. White flour was a total luxury. Nobody in this poor village could afford it. Even Kong's wealthy family could only afford cornmeal and potatoes. But Lucy was pregnant now, and I refused to feed her like a peasant. The heavy sky was already changing. I finally reached Mary's house to pick up Lucy. Thick clouds pressed right on the treetops, choking the sun. A blizzard was coming. I quietly handed over a whole pound of pork, along with 5 pounds of white flour. The storm is coming, so the canteen will close. Stay inside and do not go looking for food. You have enough here. Mary tried to refuse, but I pushed anyway. I knew exactly what she would do after I left. Barter the chicken, pork and flour with neighbors for cornmeal and potatoes, stretching everything as far as she could. Those luxury items were way out of their reach, but that was her own business. On our walk home, Lucy softly asked if I was really heading into the mountains to hunt. She was deeply worried. At the logging camp, men disappeared into the forest every single month and never returned. Those mountains were crawling with tigers, bears and wolves, wild boars. There is an old local saying, a wild boar is actually more dangerous than a bear or tigers, but I will be careful. She needed reassurance. I won't take dumb risks with you and the baby. Safety first. Suddenly, Lucy stiffened next to me, and look who is walking toward us. Kong and Greg, walking straight toward us. I did not even let them speak first. Greg, since when did you become Kong's lapdog? This guy has been bullying our family for years, and you follow him around like a puppy. Aren't you embarrassed? Greg shrank behind Kong and barked right at me. The clerk just confirmed everything. You filed the tie-cutting papers. After stealing from us, we are here to haul you in. I almost felt sorry for their sheer stupidity. Almost. Let's go, Lucy. Talking to these fools is making me dumber. Kong steps sideways, blocking my path entirely. Hands on his hips, he is not letting me pass. I look up at the heavy, darkening sky. The snow is almost here. I need to get back and reinforce my cabin. There's really no time for this. Listen up, you two. I took my things from that house yesterday. Today, I filed the severance documents at the office. Yesterday we were family. Today we are not. You want to charge me with stealing my own stuff, back when I was still legally family. That is like using the old dynasty's laws to judge today's citizens. Go check the official date on the file at the commune. If you doubt me. Kong turns to Greg. Did that paper have a date when you signed? When your parents stamped their thumbprints? Greg blinks, admitting he cannot read. He has no idea what was written. Apparently, it was just a severance paper, and ordered his parents to sign. Kong's face goes dark. Seriously, his own partner doesn't even know what he just signed. In my past life, if I had met someone this incredibly gullible, back in the modern era, I could have easily used his name to get loans. Worth a fortune, Captain Kong. Anyway, are we done here? By the way, the commune clerk probably forgot to mention something. I am an official forest ranger now. This entire forest behind the village is under my watch, so if I catch either of you sneaking inside, I will report you to the commune for stealing state-owned timber. Now, rangers can't arrest people, but I still hold all the cards. I can report any illegal logging, and my word counts as actual evidence. Kong spits on the ground as Lucy and I casually walk past. I hear him muttering about how this was all wasted effort. No backward glances. Those guys aren't even worth the satisfaction of a beating. By the time Lucy and I finally make it to the cabin, cold snowflakes were already drifting down. I stacked the supplies in the corner and brushed off the cold snow. Once this storm passes, I will get the village carpenter to build us some decent furniture and set up a solid fence around our cabin. That carpenter was actually Mary's brother. I just asked Mary to introduce us. Lucy just nodded sweetly. Then she asked a question that made my heart ache. Jack, she said, before New Year, I really want to write home. Next time you head out to the commune, could you buy me some paper and a pen? A simple pencil is fine if a pen costs too much. We need to save money for stamps. After I mentioned her family earlier that same day, her mind was completely fixed on them. She went years without a single letter. Check this out. I grinned and pulled out my secret package. That's why you are my wife. When she looked, her mouth fell open. Inside were books, paper, and actual pens, along with a small mirror and some face cream. We missed this year's college entrance exam. I told her, and you can't take it while pregnant anyway. But next year, you are definitely sitting for it. A national exam had just been brought back. The new rules said absolutely anyone could take it. Young, old, any education level. See, Lucy came from a family of scholars. Her biggest dream was to attend a real university. Suddenly, her face clouded over her background. This village is just behind the times. Lucy, just focus on your studying. Leave the rest to me, though I couldn't tell her everything. I couldn't explain that in a year. The entire class label system would be completely abolished. And I still did not know if her parents, both university professors, had been restored to their positions yet. In my previous life, I only found them years later. But they never forgave me for letting Lucy die. This time would be different. She carefully picked up the mirror and the cream. You spent too much. A mirror is only 50 cents. And that face cream was 20 cents. You really should save this money. I almost laughed aloud. She had never once questioned how I spent money before. Now she was managing our household budget, finally thinking of herself as the real woman of this house. From now on, every single cent I earn goes to you. You decide how it all gets spent. I gently cupped her face in both hands and planted a massive kiss right on her forehead. Gross, you got spit on me. She swatted me away, blushing hard. Then she took the pen and paper over to the brick bed to write her letter. See, taking her to visit Mary really worked. She was livelier now and more open. I watched her chew on the end of her pen, scratch her head and cry a little. Crumple a draft, restart. She was only 16 when she left home. And years of silence. She just did not know how to put it all into words. So I just left her to write. I reinforced every single weak spot in the cabin, especially that wall which collapsed in my previous life. I propped it up with poles. Then I started cooking with the pork I brought, plus potatoes and white flour, tonight's menu. Twice cooked pork with crispy potato slices, vinegar shredded potato dish, and freshly steamed white flour buns. You see, everyone only ate potatoes and cornmeal. Every single day, either boiled or steamed. Nothing else. I actually taught myself to cook during my years in Siberia. I missed home food so badly. I had no choice, since I was no chef, but I could handle basic home cooking. Plus, I was never stingy with the oil and seasoning. And that made all the difference. Jack, she asked, are we going broke? That is almost 2 whole pounds of meat in one single meal. Lucy stared at the steaming dishes with pure panic. Relax, you will eat like this daily. She tore a warm bun in half, handing me the larger piece, only managing to finish half. Meanwhile, I could have devoured all 4 buns, plus both dishes, still staying hungry. That was life in the 70s. Nobody in the countryside really knew what a full stomach felt like. Lucy kept frowning, probably worrying about the cost. Right up until then, the very first bite of twice cooked pork hit her tongue. Her eyes went wide. This is incredible, Jack. She admitted she thought I could only make steamed potatoes. It was honestly better than anything she had ever tasted. Truth is, it wasn't my cooking. After 4 long years of nothing but cornbread, potatoes and pickled cabbage, even a simple sliced cucumber with sauce would taste like absolute heaven, but I kept quiet. Instead, I just placed another slice of pork on her bun. Eat more? You're not eating for one anymore. Remember that. Outside, the freezing wind howled as heavy snow fell, but this old cabin was solid now. Every few hours, I would head out to clear snow off the roof, the very wall that killed Lucy in my first life. But this time, I was right there. I was strong. Let the storm come. When Mary started coming to care for Lucy, I knew I had to teach her some recipes too. There was no way our meals were going back to boiled potatoes. The second I left for the mountains, December 7th, 1977, the designated day of heavy snow on the ancient calendar, and those mountains surely delivered. I woke up quite early, bundled myself tight and slowly cracked open the door. The deep snow already reached 3 feet. Luckily, the door opened inward, which was honestly the only reason I could escape at all. I grabbed my shovel and hoe, and rolled straight into the snow. Literally rolled, since walking was impossible. I slowly flattened a patch of ground, just to find some solid footing. Right then, I noticed something strange, near a massive pine close to the cabin. A pale yellowish lump was poking out of the snow. A deer head, shoved straight into the drift like a panicked ostrich. I actually snorted. Heavy blizzards do this to wild animals. When food gets scarce, they lose their minds and act stupid. This poor beast had buried itself face first, likely fleeing from a predator, and almost choked to death. I trudged through the deep, heavy snow, hauled its snout out. The poor face was half frozen, still breathing, weighing maybe 50 or 60 pounds. I wrestled the beast back, securing it tightly to the wooden porch post. 50 pounds of fresh venison brings $70. That covers 2 whole weeks of worries. But wait, something felt totally wrong. Deer only buried their faces like that. When absolute terror strikes, something hunted this creature. I scanned the woods, nothing. Whoever had chased that poor creature was still lurking in the woods. I grabbed the ladder to clear off the heavy roof. The snow was stacking up several inches thick, with the storm showing zero signs of letting up. Massive flakes stung my cheeks like tiny frozen needles. I kept shoveling until the wooden planks were bare, then carefully made my way down. Suddenly, I saw them. 20 or 30 black dots creeping across the white field. Moving fast, winter wolves. Smaller packs joined forces in the cold. 20 or 30 was just mid-sized. Mountain packs around here can reach over 100. Even an expert hunter with a rifle stands no chance. Locals feared these beasts way more than bears, even more than tigers or wild boars. Inside, Lucy was just waking up. The wooden door creaked as she started coming out. Lucy, drag the deer inside and lock up. Do not open it, whatever happens. She didn't ask questions, just nodded okay. He untied the deer, dragged it inside, and slammed the door. He quickly scrambled back up onto the roof. Because hiding inside was actually the absolute worst option here. The wolves would just surround the cabin and tear it apart, ready to slaughter every single living thing inside. But staying on the roof made him the primary target. Fighting out here with weapons was far better. Trapped in a wooden box, he only had a shovel, a farming hoe and a belt axe, plus a small knife and a slingshot in his pocket. No firearms, no bows. If he had either, he could have wiped them out before they even reached the cabin. Then, he notices the icicles. Lethal. Razor-sharp icicles hanging directly from the edges of the roof. Mountain folks actually died from these things falling every year. They were literally nature's own daggers. And guys, he has a whole roof full of them. He scrambled quickly along the slippery roof edge, snapping off every single icicle within his reach, piling his ammo as the vicious pack closed in fast. The lead valve finally hits the ladder, scrambling upward with thick ice crusting its dirty fur. Teeth fully bared, he grips the shovel handle tightly with both hands, swinging it directly into the beast's snarling face. The heavy flat metal smashed hard across its snout, nearly crushing its skull in one hit. It yelped, tumbling backward straight into the deep snow. Inside, Lucy watches terrifying shadows leap past the window. She hears their bloodthirsty howling, huddling in the farthest corner of the warm brick bed, clutching a kitchen knife tightly. She's shaking violently from head to toe, but doesn't scream. You can really feel her absolute trust in him. Outside, the blizzard worsens, turning him into a literal snowman. The wolves are completely covered in white, too, but the sheer bloodlust between them easily burns away the cold. Bring it on, he roars out into the storm. I need every single one of your pelts for a brand new vest. When it came to pure, brutal savagery, he had never lost to anyone, and he certainly wasn't about to start losing to wild dogs. His screaming actually worked, turning the head of every sniffing beast. I swept around the cabin walls, turning back, up on the roof. Over 20 gray wolves crept closer through the deep snow. Their eyes locked onto me. The alpha kept watch from a distance. A brutal, scarred beast. It had 3 claw marks over its left eye. Dropping low, I grabbed a frozen icicle. One quick throw, right into the nearest beast's shoulder. The creature collapsed, thrashing in the snow. Warm crimson blood immediately soaked the freezing snow. That scent of fresh blood drove the others wilder. I launched every frozen spear I had. Most missed in the gale, but 3 found their mark, added to the ones I had knocked off the ladder with my shovel. 7 of them were completely out of action, and trust me, that mattered a lot. Out of 20-some wolves, only 12 or 13 were actual fighting males. I had just wiped out half their fighting force, and I had barely even sweat. Being on the roof gave me the ultimate edge. High ground, clear sidelines. Plus they had to climb a single ladder to reach me. The alpha ended up calculating the exact same thing. It let out a low, chilling howl, and the pack immediately began backing away. Several tried to drag their wounded away, not to rescue them, but to feast on them. No waste, but that crossed a massive line. I almost died fighting them, and now they wanted to steal my hard-won kills. I whipped out my knife and launched it. It buried itself deep in a female's eye. She screamed, stumbling backward. The rest of them panicked, bolting toward the mountains. I knocked on the door. Lucy, it's over, they're gone. I need to clean this mess before coming in. She hummed a soft reply. I could hear the sheer relief in her voice. Picking up the wood-cutting blade, I walked up to the wounded beasts, unable to move. One fast, clean swing for each. 5 dead wolves paint the snow. I skinned all 5 quickly. The meat was pretty much worthless, selling for just pennies a pound, and the local station would reject it. I would just give it to neighbors. But those pelts, a different story. A pristine hide, fetched maybe a few $dozen. At the state station, but across the Russian border, they could fetch 300 rubles. The difference was massive. No way I would sell cheap. I would hoard them until the perfect beer showed up. I buried the meat under the snow, cleaned up the mess, washed off the blood, and walked inside. Inside, Lucy was stoking the wood stove. Our wild deer still bled in the corner. She said she heard lumber camp workers talking, saying wild deer bring good money. When snow stops, you ought to sell it in the county. She clearly thought I wanted a pet, just because I kept it alive. Honestly, I almost laughed at her assumption. A live deer always weighs more than a dead carcass. I wanted it eating and drinking lots, hoping to pack on some extra pounds before selling it off. That is the plan. Living beasts secure far better prices. Lucy nodded, satisfied. With that cold cash, we can finally upgrade our whole life. But Jack, we desperately need a fence. She had every reason to fear. Today was wolves, but tomorrow it could be bears, tigers, or a whole herd of boars. Once this winter storm passes, I will take you to Mary, then head to town and sell the deer. With the cash, I will hire a carpenter. I wanted Mary's brother to build a fence, craft a table and a wardrobe, and add another room to our cabin. It was just way too small. I already had the entire blueprint mapped out. Winter was not going to stop me from building a real home. The blizzard finally let up the next morning. Deep in the forest, snow piled up to my waist. I dug up the 5 skin-wolf carcasses I had buried, and dragged them back toward the village. My plan was to give the meat away, but the second I stepped inside, I heard everyone gossiping. Old man Zhao's roof had completely caved in. It crushed his oldest son. Every other house survived the heavy snow just fine. They said it was heaven's punishment for raising that ungrateful third son. Shoo. He is coming. What is he dragging? Those are not dogs. Those are wolves. 5 of them, fully skinned. Good Lord. Ever since being reborn, my hearing had gotten incredibly sharp. I could easily make out whispers 50 feet away. I quickly changed direction and headed straight for my old family house. Around 20 or 30 villagers had already gathered in the yard. The straw roof of the east wing had completely collapsed after a rotting wooden beam gave way under the heavy weight of the snow. Inside, Frank's wife was loudly wailing. "Oh Frank, what am I going to do? You are the only worker in this family. I am pregnant. If you cannot work, we will starve." Martha cut her off. "My son is not dead yet. Stop crying like that. Are you hoping he dies, just so you can run off with another man?" Then, Martha quickly turned to Captain Kong. "Can you please send a horse cart to take my boy to the county hospital?" Kong refused. Of course, he would be happy to watch our entire family die. The snow is higher than the horses. Nobody is getting through. Just send Greg to fetch the village medic. Martha absolutely refused to trust that quack. Just last year, some girl sprained her ankle and he claimed it was totally broken. She couldn't walk for 6 whole months. His legs were crushed. I'm not letting that idiot anywhere near him. Kong suggested using a flatbed cart. Someone could pull Frank all the way to the county hospital. They might make it before nightfall. And here we go. Everyone slowly turns to Greg. Since Frank was down, only 2 men were left in the entire family. My old father Tom, who was past 50 and definitely couldn't survive the trip, and Greg, he didn't even hesitate. "I'm not going. Don't even look at me. I'd literally die of exhaustion before getting halfway there." His own brother's legs were totally crushed, yet he refused to even touch the cart. That was classic Greg, completely selfish to his core. I stood by the gate the whole time, just watching this pathetic drama. 5 dead wolves at my feet. Having seen quite enough, I was ready to leave. But then Tom saw me as "Son, you actually came back. Turns out you haven't forgotten this family. Please help your own brother. Pull his cart to the county hospital. I'm begging you," he whimpered, grabbing my arm tightly. The local village elders chimed in. "He's your brother. No grudge lasts forever." Everyone just stared, knowing I was the only one left, strong enough to drag Frank through this heavy snow. I looked over at Tom. Then I looked at Martha and Greg. Both looked away, completely unable to meet my gaze. "I'll pull Frank to the county hospital," I said, "and I'll pay for his treatment. Every single cent. but this family owes me this house. Shut up, you animal. Martha instantly charged at me. Your own brother is dying and you want our house. Get out of here. I didn't even flinch. I threw out a price I knew they could never pay. That was exactly when I looked over at Tom. Dad, you are not a bad man. You are just weak. If living with this crazy woman gets too heavy, divorce her. I will not abandon you over some piece of paper from the commune. But I said this right in front of every single person here except you. Every last person in this family could drop dead tomorrow, and it would not be my problem. And honestly, Tom looks completely broken. A man who spent his entire life getting pushed around by his own wife, his sons, and even his neighbors, always too terrified to stand up for himself. Honestly, I felt bad for him. But you cannot save someone who refuses to help himself. So I grabbed my wolves and walked right out. My first stop was at Mary's house. She already knew about the roof cave-in over at my family's old home. For 20 years they treated you like dirt, Jack. The whole village knows how unfair they were. Nobody is going to blame you for walking away. I handed her to skinned wolves and made a request. She had to take the other 3 to her brother, the carpenter. I explained to her I needed him to build a brand new room for my cabin, plus some extra work, $50 minimum if he does a great job. Next, I asked her to keep an eye on Lucy back at the cabin, while I took the deer to the county so I could sell it. Mary tried to reject the wolf meat. You can tell she feels pretty guilty taking all this. I told her straight, Lucy and I do not eat wolf. Otherwise, I will just toss it in the snow. That got her moving. No wasting good food. Old folks say wolf meat is fine, especially if you stew it slow with spices. I walked Mary back to the cabin, making sure Lucy was comfortable having her around, then headed out, leading the deer with a rope. Those 2 women had a whole lot to discuss. Mary had gone through pregnancy herself, and could guide Lucy. Basic life lessons that should have come from a mother-in-law. But Martha never gave Lucy a single piece of advice, just kicking her straight out into the cold. Karma, I quietly muttered to myself, walking further down the snowy trail. Grinning, Frank was now completely crippled. 1 less worker for their family. And his wife was pregnant too. 2 less working hands. Watch this. The family that threw us out was falling apart, while Lucy and I got stronger by the day. Lucy's biggest crisis had passed. That deadly blizzard which claimed her in my first life was safely behind us. No other major disasters would strike our village for years, but bad people could still cause trouble. And for that, I absolutely needed a gun. It took me 2 solid hours to reach the county town, dragging that heavy deer through the snow. The moment I arrived, people began to stare. A country kid in heavily patched clothes, leading a live roe deer right down the street. An older man walked up, asking how much for the deer. $70. He shook his head. More expensive than pork, he muttered, walking off. Then, a wealthy man in a gray suit stepped forward. 70, I will take it. His name was Daniel. He was visiting from a neighboring county, here on business, needing something truly impressive to serve guests for dinner that very night. He had money and did not haggle. So I walked the deer over to the county guest house, which was where he stayed. He ran upstairs, quickly returning with $70 in cold, hard cash. I didn't dare ask what he did for work. A businessman traveling around with that kind of crazy money in 1977 was clearly someone important, but prying would only annoy him. We were just strangers making a deal, keeping things simple. With $70 pocketed, I headed out shopping, buying all the necessary supplies. I gritted my teeth, spending $21 on gifts, 2 bottles of premium liquor for $16, 5 packs of top brand cigarettes for $5, and 10 packs of cheaper smokes for $2. None of those cigarettes were actually for me since I quit for good. These were meant for the officers at the police station. The local forestry chief had already promised to help me secure my firearm permit, as long as I brought him some high-grade liquor and smokes. Trust me, I needed that speed. With that permit in my hands, I could finally purchase a real hunting rifle. Spending $21 was an absolute fortune to me. But deep in the rugged mountains, a weapon was worth far more than mere cash. Surprisingly, getting that license was easier than I thought. Armed with my hunting license, the chief's solid recommendation, and my official ranger status, the cops just handed over my purchase certificate, without even laying a finger on my gifts. Now, I just had to buy the weapon first, and return later to officially finalize the paperwork. Buying a firearm in 1977 was simple. Just walk into the supply store with your paper, and take your pick. No fancy semi-automatics or fully automatic rifles were on display, which kind of sucked, but a gun was still a gun. Only problem was, I was almost broke. The double-barrel shotgun I wanted cost $150. Totally out of reach, so I spent $30 on a simple spring piston air rifle instead, and threw into dollars for 10 boxes of lead pellets, 50 rounds each, making 500 shots total. That would easily last me a long time. This air rifle did not need a permit, so I saved my official certificate for later, once I could actually afford that shotgun. Honestly, just having that rifle slung on my back, even a small airgun, made me feel completely whole again. It beat carrying a basic slingshot, by a landslide, but on my way home, I passed my father, Tom, heading the other way. He was accompanied by a doctor from the commune clinic. They were heading back to treat poor, sick Frank. Tom spotted me, loaded down with heavy bags and a rifle slung over my shoulder. He opened his mouth, about to say something, then he shut it again, and I saw real regret in his eyes. But that regret changes absolutely nothing. He stood by, while Martha completely ruined their entire family. The only real difference between them, it was quite simple. One actually swings the beating stick, and the other guy held it steady. Back at my cabin before noon, and check this out. The entire snowy path leading into the forest, completely covered in heavy drag marks. Our carpenter was already hard at work. Meet Martin, who is Mary's younger brother. Fresh snow made hauling lumber easy. Those logs slid smoothly over the ice. Martin was outside shoveling away the snow, planning exactly where the new room should go, and where to dig holes for the fence posts. Hey brother, working hard, huh? I called out, and he leaned on his shovel, grinning. Are you kidding? You literally gave me 3 wolves worth of meat before I even got started. That guy Khan had me build a cabinet 3 months back. He promised extra work points, but never paid. You're a saint compared to him. I casually tossed him a pack of cigarettes. The premium stuff, 20 cents a pack. Village officials smoked this exact brand. His face immediately lit up, so I told him to smoke outside. But keep it outside since Lucy is pregnant. He nodded quickly, promising he would barely even step inside. Your pregnant wife needs her privacy. Honestly, you have to love his attitude. I was going to pay Martin pretty handsomely too, even sharing premium liquor and cigarettes. Once everything was finished, but he still had to know his place. Never ask questions that are not your business. No gossiping, just do a great job. Inside, thick smoke was pouring out of the chimney, and the entire place smelled of rich, lard-cooked food. Mary was busy cooking, while Lucy sat on the brick bed, sewing brand new clothes. Using the beautiful fabric I brought from the commune, she was concentrating so deeply she didn't even look up. Utterly terrified of pricking her finger, she looked absolutely stunning. After just a few days of eating decent meals, and using that face cream, her skin had totally cleared up. She had pinned her short hair neatly behind her ears, and even in those old clothes, she carried a grace that did not belong in this era. I made a silent promise to bring back better fabric, and maybe some stylish clothes. Next time I visited the town, Mary, cook extra food, I said. Take some home for Sam and Daisy when you leave. Mary tapped the rice pot on the side stove. Guess what? Your wife already planned that. She had me cook for 7 people, saying you would be starving after running around all morning. Lucy kept her head down, her needle moving steadily, but I could easily catch her tiny smile. I sat right beside her and took the stitching from her hands. Let Mary handle making the clothes. She is experienced. You are new. Mary, would you make Lucy and me a brand new outfit each? The leftover fabric should be plenty for a small cotton jacket for Daisy as well. I will pay $2 per outfit. Mary quickly agreed. She currently owed the production team nearly $2,000, and her young daughter Daisy would need school fees in just a few years. Every single cent mattered. I looked at Lucy again, noticing how carefully she had arranged our cabin, the hearty meals she planned for everyone, and the quiet care behind her every move. Seriously, he is the luckiest guy alive, and I was never going to take it for granted. Lucy puffed out her cheeks and pouted at me, asking if I thought her sewing was not good enough. She was being playful, and I loved it. I wrapped my arm gently around her shoulder, and softly warmed her cold, delicate hand, telling her that since her sewing was terrible, she should stop working because I was here, and let me handle everything. Then, I asked her about the letter. I had offered to mail it for her that morning, but she said it was not finished yet. By now, I finally saw the truth. It had nothing to do with writing. She was just pretty terrified her parents would be furious that she married a country boy. without their blessing, and she dreaded what they would say about her pregnancy. Back then, city folks quite literally looked down on villagers, and women always carried the absolute heaviest burden. A few years later, when educated city kids finally returned home, the guys would abandon their rural families, just like that. But girls who married local village men, imagine being stuck forever. Lucy's biggest fear, she was mostly afraid of being married, without her parents' approval. "Let me see the letter," I told her. Right away, she handed it over without hesitating. She kept absolutely zero secrets from me, but I tucked it away without reading a word. "It is between you and your parents. That's your privacy. I will mail it next time I visit the commune." Her eyes went wide. "You can't." I knelt right down on the floor and looked up at her face. "Lucy, some things just have to be faced. No matter what your parents think of our marriage, I will not let you handle this alone. We are partners now, we face everything together." Tears spilled over again, ever since leaving her family. She never used to cry, just numb, barely surviving. Zero feelings, zero joy. No real sadness either, living like a total ghost. But now, she was actually living. She could feel pretty happy or even scared, cry, laugh, and even throw cute little fits of anger. That was real progress. I gently wiped the tear from her eye. "Do not cry, Mary is here." Mary placed the warm food on our wooden table, and mentioned she had to head home, to check on Sam and little Daisy. I handed her a big bag of puffed rice, plus candy for Daisy, and some cigarettes for Sam. She smiled and packed everything into her basket, heading out with the fabric, the quilt, and all that extra food, balanced nicely on a carrying pole across her shoulders. Lucy watched me closely, and she was clearly thinking how the old me was a stubborn mule who never spoke. Now I was acting smooth, knowing how to handle Mary, so she would genuinely look out for my sweet Lucy. But if she did not see it herself, that I could really hunt, she would probably scold me for wasting our money. Martin finished up his cigarette, sniffed his dusty clothes, then took off his thick jacket despite the freezing cold. He even stuffed fresh snow into his mouth to wash out the smell of smoke. Before stepping inside, he noticed those thumb-sized holes in the dead wolf bodies. Those were icicle wounds, and he instantly knew my real power. A guy who takes down 5 wolves using ice magic is not treated lightly. Mary had already warned him how fiercely protective I am of Lucy. Plus, everyone knew Lucy liked things clean. "Come eat, Martin," I called out. Stepping inside, he tried to act quite humble, saying he should go home to eat instead of taking my food. I shut that idea down instantly. "You are working at my place, so if I send you home for food, what will the neighbors say about me? That is not the way. There are rules going back 1,000 years. When you hire a skilled worker, you feed him, no exceptions." Martin laughed and dug right in. "Fine. Your wife cooks with real cooking oil anyway, which is way better than my food at home. After lunch, let us mark out the yard together to set the fence line, but eat first." I told him, "After lunch, I will show you the layout. I have already drawn up plans for the entire property." Honestly, I had the whole design pictured in my head for days. Since we were only clearing snow for the next few weeks, the blueprints could definitely wait. After another quick meal, Lucy sat quietly on the brick bed, just watching me handle everything. The builder, the winter supplies, and the plans. I caught her eye, and she looked away, smiling slightly. She was actually starting to believe in tomorrow. After lunch, things quickly shifted. Martin and I mapped out our next moves. We decided to raise a temporary fence, packing the freezing deep snow to anchor the posts. Come spring, the ground thaws. Then we'd do it properly, digging deep holes and burying those posts deep. For now, the new storage shed was just a basic wooden frame. Absolutely no mud walls yet, and zero insulation. You simply cannot mix mud and straw in this freezing cold. Any furniture, he'd build at home and haul over later. We'd be done before the new year. I spent the whole afternoon helping him clear snow. By late afternoon, I sent him home and asked Mary to step inside. You see, that crazy blizzard left perfect hunting conditions. Deep snow meant desperate, hungry animals, making them extremely easy to track. I'd been practically itching to test my new rifle all day, but I forced myself to wait. Why? Because nighttime is when wild prey actually moves. Mary showed up looking pretty uneasy. She asked what I could possibly need from her at this hour. Honestly, I could tell exactly what she was thinking. Out in the countryside, a man calling a woman over after dark usually meant just one thing, but she also knew how devoted I was to Lucy. I explained I was hunting tonight, and I needed her to stay close to Lucy. Lock the door behind me, I said. Lucy immediately refused, saying no. Daytime hunting was fine, she argued. But never at night. Mary quickly agreed with her. Even the most experienced hunters don't dare go into those mountains after dark. Forget the wild beasts. The freezing cold alone will kill you. Trust me. They didn't know what my body could do. I barely felt the cold, and my night vision was perfect. Night or day, it really made no difference to me. Hunting at night also meant Mary could keep an eye on Lucy, without stressing over Sam and Daisy. They would be asleep, but Lucy refused to budge. So Mary came up with a compromise. Hunt if you absolutely must, but please, take someone with you. To men watching out for each other. It is just safer. And if that let Lucy sleep peacefully without worrying, I would bring a partner. But who did she want? Liam? The village's most legendary doormat. His dad was a real hunter, taking Liam deep into the mountains since he was tiny. But once his father passed away in the woods, Liam completely quit hunting and became the local livestock keeper, just feeding horses and pigs. His real fame, though, came from something else. Listen close, they had this custom called helper marriage, where a guy moves into a struggling family's house, working tirelessly to support them, sleeping on the north side of the brick bed. Real husband gets the south side. They had actually almost pushed me into that same setup, with Mary right before Lucy showed up. But Liam had agreed to 3 of these, 3 completely different households. He literally worked himself to death for those families, giving away every single coin he earned, just to feed other men's wives and kids, without ever having a single child of his own. They probably never shared a bed either. No wonder everyone called him the North Bed Champion. And it was absolutely no compliment. It meant he was incredibly submissive. Like you could throw a harness on his head, and he would not even resist. 3 families basically treated him like a human cash machine. The absolute most honest guy in the village. Yes, that was Liam. Seriously, I felt second-hand frustration just hearing his name. But Mary made a pretty good point. He spent his childhood hunting alongside his father. The guy really knows these mountains. He won't drag you down or try to cheat you. Mary was pretty smart. She knew I'd never agree to carry dead weight, or split the profits with someone useless. But Liam could actually help carry the game, watch my back, sweat, and grind. Plus he was too honest to complain or scheme. Alright, I will go talk to him. Mary, you sleep here for tonight. Once Liam and I head out, I'll stop by to let you know. 2 hunters meant bringing way more game out of the mountains. And Liam had endless patience and strength. He'd be a massive asset. The poor guy was supporting 3 entire households, just on a livestock keeper's pay. If nothing else, he knew how to work without quitting. I headed out as soon as night fell to find Liam. The massive problem, I had absolutely no clue which house he was at tonight. First stop was the house of a woman named Rose. Her husband was Vince, the 5th born in his family. Terrible lung disease had him sick. He could barely breathe, let alone find the strength to stand. Forget working, they had 3 kids to feed, all depending on Liam. Rose, is Liam staying at your place tonight? She came out and looked at me pretty coldly. He is not here. Try Hank's place. I just chuckled to myself. So the 3 families had actually worked out a schedule, deciding which nights Liam slept where. That way they always knew exactly where to find him whenever they needed something. The North Bed Champion, just rotating between homes like some shared appliance. I headed over to Hank's house. Hank, full name Hank Jang, he had lung disease too. He sat propped up against the wall of the south bed. 2 small children pressed tightly against him. A boy of 5 named Sean and a girl of 4 named Flora. Hank's wife was busy in the kitchen, washing up potatoes for dinner. Sean and Flora, here, take these. I brought some fruit candies. The kids look to their father first. Hank wheezes and nods, and only then does Sean run over. Thank you, Uncle Jack. Smart kid, at 5 years old, already chopping heavy wood and carrying water for his family. Most village kids avoid heavy chores until 6 or 7. I sit down on the brick bed's edge to get straight to business. Hank, I am a forest ranger now. No more work points for me. So, I am hunting to make a living. Liam grew up tracking wild game with his dad. So, I want to take him along. What do you say in a helper marriage? Liam has even less respect than a guy marrying into his wife's household. I still need Hank's permission out of respect. Even though Liam is a fully grown man, Hank's eyes instantly sharpen. By now, the whole village knows about my 5 wolves. They all know I gave the meat away. They are insanely jealous. My old family is reportedly banging their fists against the walls in pure rage. If Liam tags along with you, Hank says, coughing heavily, can you share a bit of your catch? A fair question, right? Nobody in this village really understands the kind of money a hunter makes. Back then, whatever the local hunter brought home went straight to the production team for work points. No one ever tracked actual value. Just 1 week in the mountains, I say, confidently slapping the side of his bed, and I will bring back enough food to feed your entire family for a month, easy. In my head, a single day in the mountains could actually feed them for a year. With my unique abilities and the snow, forcing wild animals into the open, I can pull hundreds of dollars worth of game in a single day. It was nothing special, just 1 week's work for a month of food. Hank finally stopped coughing. His eyes lit up, making him look 10 years younger. Seriously, if you do not believe me, let Liam join me tonight. Tomorrow you will see what we bring back. Hank did not hesitate. He knew Liam could barely keep 3 households fed, especially since this year's harvest was worse than last year's. The year-end payouts would be so tiny, and the grain they could buy would never last. These families were simply running out of time. Liam, go out with your brother Jack. Take whatever you need from this house. Liam had stayed quiet this whole time. Honestly, you could tell he hated the idea. His own father died in those mountains, but the choice was simple: stay here and starve, or head into the deep woods and try to survive. Hank, I already have tools at home. I told him, Liam, and I will swing by my father-in-law's old place to grab his hunting gear. That last part got my blood pumping fast. Liam's late father was a legendary hunter, a true professional, and every old hunter kept his best gear hidden. I had not managed to buy a proper shotgun at the village store today, but if his father had left one behind, that would change everything. Liam's house was right at the north end of town, sitting closest to the forest. I followed him there, my heart racing with anticipation. Even when I was a kid, his father never let anyone touch his hunting gear. You could only look at the rifle, but that was it, and the old man had been dead for years. I had absolutely no idea what was left. Liam lit the oil lamp, revealing a clean room. There was no dust, even though he helped other households. He still came back here regularly. Brother Jack, my dad left me 2 guns, both in great shape, and I have kept them oiled. Then, he opened a massive wooden chest. Inside, we found 2 shotguns, a single-barrel 16-gauge break-action, and an old, foreign-made musket, plus all the tools for making shell casings, primers and powder, shot, sealant. Dad taught me everything: how to press shells and measure powder, packing the shot, sealing it with kerosene. I can do everything. Honestly, I couldn't believe he never sold these. Even as desperate as his life was, that really told me something about Liam. He clung to his father's things no matter what. I told him, I'm not taking your guns, just borrowing this break action for tonight, going after something big. I checked both weapons pretty carefully. Both were maintained, ready to fire. But seriously, had Liam's shooting skills gone rusty? If something huge charged us and he froze, we'd be in trouble if he hesitated now. I'll follow your lead, Brother Jack. He handed me the better gun, the 16-gauge, keeping the old musket himself. Already, he looked like a different person. Eyes bright, shoulders standing straight. The misery completely lifted from his face. After New Year, we cannot hunt. I told him the old hunter's rules. Absolutely no hunting through spring, which meant we had to move incredibly fast. There were plenty of old traditions. Never shoot any pregnant animals. Don't kill sows, every trade has codes. And I would follow them unless we were starving. Together, we carried his supply chest to the cabin. I introduced Liam to Lucy and Mary. Then we loaded up and headed out. I carried the break-action shotgun and my air rifle for small game, my short-handled shovel and axe, knife and my trap-making supplies. Liam wondered if that air rifle hits rabbits. He was pretty skeptical. The gun was only accurate to 30 yards. And rabbits are fast, 30 yards or less. I never miss. He gives me a thumbs up and drops the subject completely. I have a very specific goal tonight. Dragon King Gully, about 3 miles from our cabin. Back in my previous life, I traveled through there right before the blizzard hit, and saw fresh wild boar tracks all over. The locals pretty much knew that gully was a pig den. Old hunters always said a single boar is tough to kill, but a herd is easy. Bringing Liam along meant we needed to keep it simple. Tracking a boar herd in a known spot was absolutely perfect for our very first hunt. But imagine stumbling into a whole pack gone completely wild. That would get pretty ugly. But to armed hunters versus one, it was manageable. Heavy snow slowed us down. Even pushing hard, It took almost 2 hours just to reach the gully. On the way, I spotted fresh tracks everywhere. Rabbits, pheasants, deer and weasels. But I did not chase a single one. I did set up some snare traps, though, right where the animals marked their territories with stinky urine. If they actually caught anything was mostly down to luck. Reaching the gully edge, I spotted clear boar prints and fresh droppings, messily scattered all over. Liam squints under the moonlight, trying to see down below. He asks if boars are really down there. Oh, plenty. We slid right down the snowy slope, and slowly started walking east along the snowy floor. Soon, the tracks ahead became much cleaner. One lone set of hoof prints heading off in one direction. This boar had broken away from the main herd, probably looking for food, I figure. They move in herds, Liam whispers. He crouches down low, asking if they ever split up. I say we follow this one and see. Truth is, a lone target between two armed men is ideal. Herds are actually easier in theory, but terrifying if they panic and charge you together. One beast, two guns. Get in and out quickly. That was tonight's plan. We followed the fresh tracks east into total darkness. They led us right into a wide clearing. And right there it was, a massive wild boar digging through the frozen dirt. Its giant haunches shifted with every single grunt. Shoulders 3 feet high. Literally built like a tank, brother Jack. Liam was basically shaking with pure excitement. His very first time carrying a real gun. Our actual target. You can literally feel the tension. Every hunter's blood runs pretty hot the first time he grips a weapon and spots prey. Hunting is not adrenaline. It takes a cool head and actual experience. Two lifetimes taught me that. Stay here. Watch. Learn. I circled wide toward the beast's flank with my shotgun. You do not aim for the head. The skull is too thick, and buckshot won't spread tight enough to hit the eyes. Its backside is also far too tough. Just thick hide and fat. The only real kill zone is the side. Lungs and heart. Puncture the lungs, and it is instantly over. Hit the heart, though, and the pig thrashes for a while. Still dies, which is the best. One blast to the chest. Reload fast, get close, finish it with a headshot. I crept silently right through the cold snow, step by step, until I was 40 feet away. Suddenly, the boar shifted its body sideways. And watch this, I get the perfect angle. I raised the 16 gauge. I pressed the heavy stock tight against my shoulder, aimed right behind its front leg, and squeezed. The loud blast tore through the night. Its entire body shuddered. It didn't drop, it twisted, letting out a horrible, angry sound, and desperately tried to run. I was already reloading, cracking open the barrel. The hot shell pops out, new round goes in, snaps shut, then I chased right after. Liam, stay close. That injured beast was pretty fast, but bleeding out. I gained ground and fired again, aiming straight for its back legs. Not a lethal hit, but it was enough to drive it absolutely wild, forcing it to tire out quickly. Young Liam couldn't contain his excitement either. He fired his musket, but the shot just sprayed snow. I didn't even blame him. A kid holding a gun, watching wild game run. Of course he would pull the trigger. We tracked the beast another mile, before the massive beast finally stopped. Now watch this, it whips around, lowering its head, sharp tusks gleaming bright in the moonlight. It is a male, Liam gasped with relief. Taking down a male didn't break any rules. So's were strictly off limits, but I knew it was male right away. 3, maybe 400 pounds. Winter boars make for the best eating. Thick layers of fat and rich flavor. None of that stinky, gamey taste from summer. Most mountain game was exactly like that. Animals fatten up in autumn to survive the cold, which makes winter meat the very best. A hunter who skips out on winter is basically wasting his whole year. Loading my third round, I aimed right at its head, but before I could shoot, its legs buckled, crashing heavily into the snow. I walked up to about 10 feet and shot it anyway. That is one rule I never break. You always confirm your kill, never worrying about wasting any ammo. Some clever beasts play dead. They just wait until you're close to strike back. Make this a constant habit. A single extra shell is cheaper than a tusk. Ripping through your leg, the boar lay totally still. Liam began running circles around it. Eyes wide, he yelled, "Brother Jack, that was incredible. Your aim is unreal." "It was all right," I replied, though secretly grinning. This huge pig would yield around 300 pounds of fresh meat. The rendered lard alone could keep us cooking for a whole year. Stop staring. Let's bleed it and slice it open. Liam raised animals, and his father was a hunter. Carving prey was second nature to him. He plunged his sharp knife deep into the boar's throat. bleeding it clean before splitting the belly to yank out organs. He threw the steaming guts far away from our spot. Some say dumping entrails in the woods is actually an offering to the mountain spirits. But the real reason is practical. Predators love organs. Give them a free meal, and they will choose the easy food, rather than tracking the bloody scent of your fresh kill. Right back to you. I kept watch with my shotgun while Liam did his work. A giant pig bleeding out in the cold snow. Every meat eater nearby would definitely catch that scent. We had to move. While Liam drained the pig, I buried the blood in snow. By the time we finished up, it was almost midnight. Even with the guts and blood removed, the carcass still weighed over 300 pounds. Once stripped of skin and bones, we were looking at 250 pounds of meat. Liam's father had always told him stories about giant boars roaming these mountains, but this was the first time he had actually bagged one. Jack, let's find more. What if we bag a couple more of them tonight? Liam did not show a single trace of exhaustion. Youth is truly something else, but I just sighed. Dragging a 300-pound pig. You think we are hunting out here? Or are the predators currently tracking us down? Then, I finally told him what I was really seeking. To be completely honest, Liam, I did not just bring you along to carry things. Your dad was a veteran hunter. He would disappear into these mountains for 10-15 days straight, and he was not sleeping outside. He must have built secret shelters, hidden underground dugouts, maybe small cabins to sleep in, hidden game caches. I really needed to find them. Liam racked his brain but came up completely empty. Brother Jack, I am not hiding anything. I seriously do not know. My dad never took me deep into the mountains. I was too young, so those spots stayed secret. I believed him. Besides, the old hunter's hidden shelters were strictly private knowledge. But Liam's hunter father had unfortunately passed away before he could pass that info down. Probably completely empty by now, with nothing of real value left. Just old wood and ancient rations that the mice had eaten years ago. But honestly, knowing those spots would have saved me weeks of cold winter preparation for deep mountain hunts. Fair enough. Let's head back and check our traps along the way. Turns out, two snares had caught rabbits. Not a bad haul for a night. By the time we finally made it back to the village, dawn was breaking. I didn't want to wake Lucy, so I skipped the cabin. Liam kept yawning. Since he still had to feed the horses and pigs, I told him to drop by at daylight and let Lucy know everything. I was heading to the county to sell the boar, but watch what I did next. Skipping sleep entirely, I chopped the massive pig in half. I gave Liam a whole leg as reward, saved one half for home, and hoisted the other portion, 150 pounds, over my shoulder. I would march straight to town by sunrise, sell the meat, buy my supplies, and slip back home completely unnoticed. I arrived at the town gates just as dawn broke. Breakfast smoke drifted from the chimneys of the early morning diners. My stomach growled, having not eaten all night, so I ducked into a state-run steamed bun shop and tossed $1 and some ration tickets on the counter. 20 cabbage buns, 5 fried dough sticks, and 2 bowls of bean soup. The cashier stared at me like I was absolutely insane. These buns were seriously bigger than a man's fist. A smaller girl would probably be full after just one. I planned to eat 10, plus dough sticks and hot soup, and save the rest for Lucy. Steamed buns are actually great frozen and reheated. They easily last 10 whole days. I was practically inhaling my breakfast, dipping buns in hot soup, feeling like absolute royalty. Then out of nowhere, get this, someone taps my shoulder. In the forest, I would have jumped, but here in town, I just calmly turned. It was Daniel, that guy in the gray suit, the man who bought my deer yesterday for $70. Daniel, sit down. Let's eat together. I slid over a fresh bowl of hot bean soup, then pushed the buns and dough sticks to the center. He sat right down with a friendly smile and sipped. This mountain bean soup of yours, it tastes exactly like back home in North China. So we started chatting about our roots. I told him, my family originally came from eastern Hunan province. Our ancestors moved northeast way back when, just a few generations ago. He told me he was originally from western Shandong. Practically neighbors, you see. Back in the 70s over there, folks from our areas shared a really deep cultural connection and similar dialects. We basically called each other half-countrymen. Now watch this, his eyes slowly drift to the pig. You are a hunter, right? Deer yesterday, and half a giant boar today. That must be 100 pounds. Actually, 100 and change, I replied. I kept the head back home to braze for myself. I have a forestry station hunting license. but I am still saving up for a decent double-barrel shotgun. Last night, I had to borrow an old single-barrel gun from a friend. Daniel looked pretty shocked. You don't own a shotgun. With yesterday's deer and today's pig, surely you have enough cash for one. He definitely had a point, but he didn't know my situation. I had only hunted for days. Every single dollar went toward keeping Lucy fed, fixing up our cabin and paying the carpenter. There was simply nothing left over to buy a $150 shotgun. The truth is, I only started hunting because my family situation completely fell apart. I just do not have the money yet. Daniel nodded thoughtfully. Then, he said something that almost made me choke on my bun. I'm the deputy director of a state-owned factory. In the next county over, we manufacture firearms, military and civilian models. If your permit does not restrict your choice of weapon, I can easily get you a solid gun. Just trade me this half-pig and we will call it even. And someday, you will have to show me these hunting grounds. I literally almost jumped out of my seat. Clearly, I knew exactly which factory he meant. A stealth military weapons plant disguised from the outside as a basic hardware tool workshop. Highly classified, or at least it used to be. By late 1977, the plant was bleeding money and trying to restructure. Their secrecy was pretty much gone now. Nothing fancy for me, I replied, keeping my voice dead steady. Just a Type 56 assault rifle. Daniel's eyebrows shot up. I had a very good reason for requesting that exact gun. His plan had manufactured a batch of Type 56s, those specific ones that were utterly notorious. They barely fired reliably, could not shoot straight and jammed constantly. The plant officially called them 3-no guns. Most got dumped directly onto local militia units, or left to rust away as warehouse scrap. If I actually bought one of those, I would basically do the state a favor by clearing out their useless junk. But check this out. A trash assault rifle from a real factory, obtained directly through a deputy director, who really wanted to do me a favor, was not going to be completely useless. He would get me a working weapon, and let's face it, a rough assault rifle was 10 times more useful than some hunting shotgun. I had carried weapons in my past life, knowing exactly what I needed. Daniel just laughed. Deal, the pig is mine, and I will get you that gun. He did not even ask how I knew about the bad batch. Factory secrets were not supposed to leak, but nobody really cared anymore. The country was changing, and now I owed this man a favor. Something this big is not forgotten. I did not know how I would repay him yet, but that day would come, and I would make it count. At the local county supply store, Daniel made a quick call and had them bring a Type 56 assault rifle. It was sold through the store with all the proper paperwork. And get this, Daniel paid using my purchase certificate. My half-pig went to a local restaurant, where he was entertaining guests. Take the gun to the commune, and get your official firearms permit, he said, handing over the store receipt. The local officers won't question a certificate from the county supply store. He really wanted me to stay for lunch, but I explained I had to get home to Lucy. I promised to send him fresh mountain goods once I got his address, and assured him I would do the weapons inspection every single year. Without fail, I knew he was taking a huge risk for me. If I ever stopped using this rifle, I would hand it over to the police for proper disposal. That was truly the least I could do. Buy plenty of ammunition. Daniel said those Type 56 rifle rounds are pretty common, and any county or provincial supply store carries them. We shook hands and parted ways. He told me he was heading back home the next day, but urged me to stay in touch. I could tell he was having some second thoughts about the whole deal, yet something in his gut told him too. He was worth betting on. I felt the exact same. This was a debt I would definitely repay when the moment was right. Meanwhile, back at the cabin, things were super busy while I was gone. Liam had already dropped off half the boar. Early that morning, Mary was boiling hot water to clean the meat. The rafters were packed with over 100 pounds of fresh pork, along with one massive, terrifying pig head. Your husband is unbelievable, Mary told Lucy. I have known old hunters my whole life, but none of them ever brought home massive game like this. Lucy was absolutely glowing. She had finally stopped worrying about my heavy spending. She even offered Mary an entire leg of fresh pork, plus 10 pounds of valuable back fat to take home, easily enough to feed Mary's family through the new year. Fat was the most highly prized cut back in those days. You could easily render it into lard. It made any dish taste incredibly rich. Spread it on fresh bread, or mix it into rice. Mary refused. You'd have already done way too much for us. Liam hunted all night and only managed to get one leg. I really cannot take more than he brought back. Lucy let it go, saying they would decide when I got back. Then she carefully climbed off the brick bed to walk around. I kept telling her pregnant women desperately needed exercise, and she took that advice quite seriously, pacing around the cabin for an hour or two every day. But right then, the quiet afternoon completely shatters. Loud, angry shouting outside. "What are you doing out here, carpenter? You should be working for the collective team, not doing private jobs for Jack." Martin desperately tried to defend himself. "I am just helping out a neighbor. They are having a pretty hard time. Why do you not help me instead?" "Enough talk. Is Jack home? Because I am dragging you both in today." Hearing this, Mary warned Lucy to stay safely inside. Mary had actually been fending off Kong for several years. Ever since Sam was paralyzed, Kong had been relentlessly trying to force himself on her. She never once gave in, and knew exactly how to handle him. But wait, he is already moving. Kong violently kicks the cabin door wide open. Cold winter wind blasts in, and his eyes lock onto Mary, and his face twisted into a nasty sneer. He mocks them, pointing out she is sleeping in Jack's bed. He had thought she was a totally virtuous widow, but she is just another man's woman. Then he notices Lucy is there too. 2 women, 1 man, calling it pure, illegal capitalism. He accuses Jack of living like a wealthy landlord. Mary's face went totally white with rage, but she couldn't find any words to fight back. Lucy was trembling. A group of village officials stood right behind Kong, blocking the doorway. They had come to arrest me. Just then, Liam burst through the crowd and dropped right onto his knees in front of Lucy, sobbing to his sister-in-law. "It is his fault. He brought that pig leg to Hank's house this morning, and Hank's wife tried selling it to Kong for cash. She ended up spilling everything about their hunt, including how brother Jack went to the county to sell the boar. He begs for forgiveness, utterly devastated." Who could blame Liam? He had only brought that meat to Hank's house because it was simply the right thing to do. Hank's family desperately needed money or grain, and the only local with any cash was Kong, so she went straight to him, trying to trade that meat for something actually useful. Kong just played along, acting interested, asking a few seemingly innocent questions, and easily managed to squeeze every single detail out of her. The night boar hunt, plus me taking half to the county for cash. And here's the catch, it's still 1977. Farmers selling their own goods at open markets would not be legally permitted for another couple of years. Selling this wild game privately, instead of turning it over to the state purchasing station or the production team, was a massive risk. If Kong wanted to slap a massive political charge on me, the local commune could lock me up for 10 long days. Lucy understood the danger instantly. With me gone, she stepped up as head of our house. She told Kong to wait right outside. After all, this was her home and no random men were allowed to stand there letting the heat out. Kong smirked and backed off, but he warned I would never slip past his guys. He had men watching everything. Inside the cabin, Lucy, Mary, and Liam stood frozen, staring at each other in dead silence. Meanwhile, I was walking all the way back from town, suddenly noticing something was wrong. Strange dark shapes surrounding my cabin. Oh man, I knew instantly it was Kong's crew. Quietly, I shifted the Type 56 assault rifle in my hands, flipping the safety selector to full auto, and checking the sharp folding bayonet resting at the front. This rifle was definitely not for show. Right behind me on the snowy trail, with 4 more dark figures lurking right outside the cabin. 7 total, but one of them was Martin, the local carpenter. The other 6 actually came to arrest me, 4 high-ranking village officials and 2 of Kong's personal lackeys. And just watch their faces when they spot my weapon. "He's got an assault rifle," they panicked, demanding to know where I got that military rifle. That sharp bayonet gleamed in the moonlight. I kept the weapon at my hip, barrel pointed forward, perfectly matching the stance from the old militia training manual. Standard close quarters shooting position, to lifetimes of deadly combat and weapons training, flowed smoothly through my muscles like water. Kong's voice cracked, begging to talk and asking where I stole the gun, promising he could help me return it without trouble. I bought it legally from the county store. The police issued me a real permit. "Wanna see it?" But he didn't dare get close enough to look. He knew I wasn't bluffing because a quick trip to the commune, a police officer would confirm. "Lower the gun, brother," he begged. "We are all friends." Lying that he only came to check on my wife, checking if you needed help. But poor Martin had been cornered by Kong's men for a solid 30 minutes before I finally arrived. Seeing Kong start to back down, Martin immediately let him have it, exposing his complete garbage. Brother Jack, he came here claiming, "You are some dirty capitalist selling pork in town." He even claimed I was doing illegal work for you, and called you some unforgivable names. Kong's face turned completely pale, and his terrified lackeys looked ready to melt into the snow. Keeping my gun raised, I made things very simple for Kong. That half a pig, never sold at market. I gave it directly to a government official. How else do you think a simple permit gets a hunter a real military weapon? You can feel that word heavy in the air. Official. And Martin, which of your eyes actually saw me pay him cash? Everyone in this village already knows. I gave his family 3 wild wolves a few days ago. That is neighbors helping neighbors. But Kong did not hear any minor details. He only heard that single word, official. A powerful authority. Someone who could easily secure a real military weapon. For a local hunter, Kong was just a clueless village captain. He knew absolutely nothing about legal hunting licenses or firearm permits. He had never heard of anyone in these mountains actually owning legal papers for a gun. So he assumed I had a massive patron backing me up, a figure who could crush him like an insect. But the truth was way more simple. Daniel was just a factory deputy director, just doing a favor. And all my permits were completely legal. But Kong did not need the truth. His pure, unadulterated fear was much more useful to me. I stepped back inside, put my rifle down, and smiled at Lucy. A small-time village captain is nothing in the grand scheme. Even powerful officials eat breakfast with me. While speaking politely, Lucy beamed. She had not seen me back down to anyone since I finally cut ties with my family. Mary was completely red-faced, totally mesmerized by the way I carried that military rifle. It deeply impressed her. Liam looked relieved. He was still kicking himself over the leak, so I told him to stay for some breakfast, adding that we had some serious things to discuss afterward. Then I grabbed a pack of top-tier cigarettes from my cabinet and headed right back outside. Kong hadn't budged even though he wanted to run, terrified of what I might actually do to him if he just left without my permission. Plus he'd overheard me inside talking about high officials, about having breakfast with county leaders. Honestly, his own wild imagination was doing all the work. Watch this. I open a pack of premium cigarettes and hand one out to every single man there. Kong's hands were literally shaking. We're talking about cigarettes that only provincial leaders could smoke. There was a pretty famous local saying around here. Provincial bosses smoke premium, city leaders smoke mid-range, and regular low-level workers smoke whatever they can find. Kong couldn't even afford the basic low-level brand. He rolled his own cheap tobacco leaves, and yet here I was casually handing out the finest cigarettes in the entire country, like they were absolutely nothing. None of them lit up. Each man slipped his cigarette right into his pocket, saving it for the new year. No big deal. I said casually, that big official just loves mountain game, so I sent him some once in a while. We got quite friendly. Kong was practically staring right into my eyes, with total admiration. Brother, if you're doing this incredibly well, I'm relieved. If I ever need help down the road, sure, I have some bottles of high-end liquor sitting at home. Want me to send one over for New Year? Honestly, I had zero intention of actually giving him anything. The whole point was letting him realize that I kept things in my house, which only the highest officials could ever afford. His mind would fill it in. Smart, right? No, I couldn't possibly accept that. Just come by for a drink sometime and I'll cook for you. But he knew he wasn't significant enough to deserve that kind of gift. But just the offer alone made him feel 10 feet tall. He took his men and left, even ordering Martin to stay and keep working for me. On their way back to the village, his crew couldn't stop gossiping. Our captain must be a pretty big deal. Jack knows the high officials, yet he treats our boss with real respect. He even gave us premium cigarettes. I've never even smelled anything this fancy. As for Kong, he probably wanted to grab those smokes back, but his hands were shaking too much. Honestly, I handled this better than the local secretary ever could. Back inside, the crew was devouring the hot buns I'd brought from town. Martin and Liam thought I was being way too generous with Kong. Why reward the guy arresting you? Mary understood. Jack essentially slapped Kong's face with the weapon, and then handed him candy with those smokes. He's basically treating Kong like a child. Liam finally pieced it together. The weapon was the slap, the cigarettes were the treat. Mary nodded. Stick with Brother Jack. You'll learn a ton. Liam's eyes lit up. Brother Jack, you're incredible. I just smiled. They were only seeing the surface level. But Kong wasn't some kid. He was an adult with official power. Think about it. petty bosses crave respect. First, I made sure he saw I was totally above him. Weapons, connections, confidence. Then, I casually offered him a smoke, and actually spoke to him like my equal. When a highly powerful figure treats you with respect, it's totally intoxicating. That's why billionaires open doors for clients, and why ancient emperors walked down the palace steps to greet ministers, just copying them. What elites have always done. It cost me virtually nothing, just smokes and polite words. But the payoff? This means my reputation in the village keeps growing. Kong will definitely think twice, maybe 3 times before ever showing his face here again. Over steamed buns and warm porridge. I tell Liam to explain exactly what went down. He spills it all. How Hank's wife took that pig leg to Kong, praying she could trade it for cash or grain. And how Kong acted like he actually cared, just to squeeze her for info. When Liam finishes, his head drops in shame. He says, "Brother Jack, hit or curse me. I won't say a word, but I don't blame him. Hank's wife just did what she had to do. Desperation. That's exactly what poverty does to you." Then, I ask him something totally out of left field. "Do you want to get married? Have your own kids?" He stammers, completely losing his voice. It's a simple question. Yes or no? "Yes," he blurts. "I want a wife." What man doesn't want a woman to hold at night? But I've got no money. Who'd even look at me? This was the North Bed champion. A guy serving 3 different households. Yet he'd never actually been with any of those women. They just treated him like a workhorse, leaving him to sleep all alone, on the freezing side of the bed, every single night. But I've already got a plan. Starting today, you're hunting with me. I'm not splitting any profits with you, but I'll keep you fed. Go home, quit the livestock job, and ditch your work points. And grab your bedding from all 3 of those houses. That last part is the real secret. See, the local marriage custom works like this. When a family took in a helper, their man, he'd carry your bedding through the village, right to their house. If things ended, the bedding went back. Once Liam quits his job and stops earning, he'll be completely useless to those families. They'll throw him out themselves. Mary looks worried. "Jack, this is going to cause trouble. Those 3 families completely rely on him, and they will absolutely hate you." "No worries," Jack casually replied. He tapped his pack of premium cigarettes on the table. "Kong will handle it," though nobody understood his meaning. Jack did not explain that Kong owed him now. Or rather, the captain feared him. So when those angry families came screaming for revenge, Kong would be the one keeping them in line. After all, that is what captains do. Liam slowly chewed his bun, thinking it over. Then he nodded, agreeing to do it. He promised to tell them later today. Everyone finally left after eating. Martin headed home to start building them. A proper dining table and some solid stools. Their morning meal had 5 people but only 2 seats, forcing 3 grown men to stand. Meanwhile, Mary headed back to check on Sam and Daisy. The cabin fell completely silent. Lucy sat beside him, gently massaging his temples, while he relaxed on the warm brick bed. She softly asked when he even met county officials. Get this, he totally made all of that up. But he did meet an important outsider recently. The very man who got him his rifle. He explained everything about Daniel and the factory, and how he traded a whole pig for it. Tomorrow, he said. He was taking Liam harvesting in the mountains, searching for ginseng and winter herbs. He really wanted to mail some to Daniel as thanks. Jack kept absolutely no secrets from Lucy. A married couple had to be totally honest with each other, but did he mail her letter? That was still the one thing she cared about. He sent it early this morning. Now, they just had to patiently wait for her parents' reply, whatever they thought of him, or how they felt about their daughter. Marrying a simple farmer, at least they would finally be talking again. Hopefully, a reply would come before the new year. Then, Lucy whispered something very softly. Out of nowhere, the baby kicked, but it took me a second to realize. Instantly, I sat up in bed. My hands flew straight to her gently growing belly. Next time our little baby kicks, you absolutely must tell me immediately. I held her tightly around the waist, and placed my ear right down below her navel. Thump, thump. It was a perfectly steady, strong heartbeat. Lucy was already 5 or 6 months along. In 3 more months, I would hold our child. I just lay there, pressed right against her belly, listening to that sweet, tiny rhythm. And honestly, this is exactly why I came back. This single moment made everything worth it. All the intense fighting and the endless scheming was for this melody. Soon, I convinced Lucy to nap with me. Since it was the middle of the day, she tried to resist, but I quickly pulled her under the covers. Smiling, she gave in and rested on my arm. My hands started drifting a bit, making her blush and playfully swat me. She allowed it, knowing how much I had held back. I did not push. Within minutes, I fell fast asleep. But while I slept, the village was buzzing. Chief Kong's men absolutely could not shut up, strutting around town. They proudly flaunted the fancy cigarettes I gave them, boasting to literally anyone nearby about Jack's crazy connections with powerful local and provincial officials, how he only drank expensive liquor and legally carried a fully licensed, loaded assault rifle. They felt so incredibly important just by association. Since such an incredibly important man gave them cigarettes, they must be big shots too. Meanwhile, Kong had his own angle. He told everyone I had offered him premium liquor, but he rejected it because it was not his style. Everyone knew he lied, but they absolutely loved the drama anyway. It was way better than any normal entertainment. They spent the entire winter exactly like that. Before long, I was the biggest name. 80% of the locals felt proud just knowing me. Whenever my name came up, they stood prouder, but for families were not celebrating. My old family, obviously, seeing me succeed while Frank lay there crippled, was totally eating them alive. Those other three families where Liam did helper marriages. Rumors spread that he wanted to end things. They blamed me for losing their free labor. Meanwhile, watch Greg call a meeting. Same exact topic as before, dividing the household. Only this time, his reason was different. He wanted to dump Frank before the guy dragged everyone down. Frank was paralyzed, and his wife was pregnant, and Greg absolutely refused to share even one single potato. Tom was not having it. Divide us now, and your own brother dies. Is that your plan? Greg just shrugged. Frank's wife looks decent. She can easily find another helper husband. Plenty of single guys are around. Problem solved. Furious, Tom grabbed a broom and charged, screaming, "That is your own brother. You heartless monster. I will beat you dead." Martha jumped between them, shielding Greg as always, before turning fiercely on Tom. "You useless man. You cannot earn a dime. Can you even control your sons? And now you want to hit the only boy, who still has two working legs. This entire mess is completely your fault." Tom stood there, shaking. For the first time, he understood why I left. Seriously, this family could drive anyone insane. Greg saw his chance to shift focus. Forget the split now. Jack is out there smoking expensive cigarettes, drinking top-shelf liquor like a king. He has got cash practically pouring from his ears. Dad, go squeeze cash from him. Even the crumbs from his table would easily feed us all. Tom shot back. You think I would ever beg from the son your mother discarded? But anyone watching closely could easily tell how. Greg's words had definitely planted a seed. He was always the smoothest talker in their family. That silver tongue was exactly why Martha spoiled him rotten. It was how he always got his way. He could not hunt or work, couldn't fight, but he could talk circles around absolutely anyone. Honestly, that made him more dangerous than calm. Meanwhile, I had zero clue my old family was scheming against me again. Barely slept 2 hours. Then I woke up and immediately started prepping the pork. Martin kindly brought over a massive clay pot for braising. He even went to buy seasoning from the commune. That is how good people act. You treat them well, and they return the favor. But some just take everything you offer. They never give back, and I refuse to associate with them. I carefully cleaned the pig head, scorching off the hair, blanched it, then dropped it right in. Lucy stood there watching the entire process like it was magic. She had never seen anyone cook braised meat before. Back home, anyway, braised pork was always bought directly from a shop. Nobody bothered making it, even with money. You just bought the fatty cuts to render lard. Jack offered Mary a pig leg and 10 pounds of fat earlier this morning, but she refused. Lucy could not understand why her gifts got rejected, while they always accepted mine. Simple, I told her. Whenever I give people things, I always attach a task. That makes it a fair trade instead of just handing out gifts. Otherwise, a proud woman like Mary feels like she is accepting charity. Lucy nodded slowly. She would need time to absorb this. She grew up pretty sheltered, then suddenly became a total outcast, simply because of her family label. Her entire life had been defined by freezing cold rejection, or burning hot kindness, with absolutely nothing in between. Then, Liam stopped by in the evening. He had actually quit his livestock keeper job, then told his 3 helper marriage families. He was my apprentice now. I would feed him. No wages. He had 0 money, no grain. Soon, those families would realize they desperately needed him. so they would let him go peacefully. Or send his gear. Rest tonight, I told him. Make traps. Tomorrow morning, we head into the mountains. It could take a day, or maybe even more. Things back at the cabin were stable. Food was stocked, and Martin kept working outside today. Mary took care of Lucy indoors. And after showing off the rifle and cigarettes today, nobody in the village would dare cause trouble. Kong himself would ensure that happened. But wait, Liam pulled out something that shocked me. Brother Jack, I thought about this all day. If my dad left shelters in the mountains, he definitely drew a map, since he always did. Everyone in the village knew that. Then he unfolded a yellowed piece of paper. First thing I saw was writing from the 1940s. It was a topographic mountain map, from the occupation era. The original markings showed mineral deposits and natural resources. But look closely, new symbols were added on top. That had to be Liam's father. They looked pretty strange, like a person-shaped character with a solid line below it. I figured that meant an above-ground shelter. Same character, but with line above. Probably an underground dugout. Fish drawn near the rivers made sense, but other symbols, scattered through the forest, were impossible to decode. Only Liam's father would have known their true meaning. Liam asked if I could read it. Hopefully some of it, like the shelters and water. The rest, I will have to figure out there. I carefully folded the map. This map is gold. Liam wasn't just about hunting. His father mapped out everything. Fishing spots, herb patches, mushroom grounds, berry bushes. Mountain guys like him tracked all 4 seasons on paper. That was the absolute truth. Mountain hunters here were never just hunters. They became fishermen in summer, herb collectors in autumn, foraging year-round. Spring meant wild vegetables. Summer brought fish and medicinal mushrooms. Fall meant berries, toad oil, and ginseng. Winter was strictly for hunting, along with gathering lichens and cutting firewood. This map covered absolutely everything. Armed with this map, my rifle, the borrowed shotgun, and Liam beside me, I was almost set. But here's the catch, we still needed good hunting dogs. I told Liam to keep his ears open for any available dogs around here, and we agreed when to head out tomorrow morning. Bright and early the next morning, everyone arrived. Martin and Liam brought over a brand new table. Martin built it from solid wood, the kind that lasts for generations. Mary came right behind them to start her day with Lucy. Liam had news for me. Remembering I asked him to find dogs, the educated youths at the commune group house. They have 7 or 8 hunting dogs, real fine breed hounds. A few of them want to hunt with us. They are waiting at his place. If I did not want them, he would turn them away. I was not thrilled. People always talk about how hard life was for city kids sent out to the countryside, but nobody mentions how the villagers felt about them. Around these parts, those city kids were known for stealing chickens and causing endless trouble, though not all were like Lucy. Martin backed me up with a solid warning. Years back, a group of them stole militia rifles and headed straight into the mountains. 5 went in, only 1 came back alive. You need to watch those people. Brother Jack, it was all true. Those city kids had zero clue how to survive in these mountains. Even with guns, they could not handle the cold, not the rugged terrain, nor the wild beasts. The poor souls who froze out there, found standing completely upright, frozen stiff like fence posts. Not this time. I told them maybe next trip, but they will have to pay tuition. What that tuition actually looks like depends on what they are willing to offer. Honestly, I just wanted their dogs. But breeds like theirs only bond to one master, making them almost impossible to retrain. I would be better off buying local dogs. Mixed breeds, hardy mountain hounds. Volve hybrids adapt to a new owner within a week. The real reason why I agreed to consider taking them next time was simple. Educated youth carried interesting things: watches, tools, books, connections. If bringing them along meant I could profit, it was no different from any other hunt. Liam ran back to deliver my answer. Their reaction, not pretty. We bring our dogs to help him hunt, and he wants us to pay, one complained. Arrogant country bumpkin. It is just a pig and some wolves. We have dogs, we can do it ourselves. Their leader was a young man named Donnie, sharp-tempered, stubborn, and backed by parents who were local officials, currently out of power, but expected to be reinstated very soon. The commune leaders were already treating Donnie with extra respect, which only inflated his massive ego. Donnie announced they would head into the mountains on their own. Someone suggested stealing rifles from the militia. At first, nobody objected. Even if they got caught, all they'd get was a gentle scolding. Once Danny's parents got their high status back, that stolen gun would be totally forgotten while they were busy scheming. Liam and I had already hit the trail. We packed rations, our rifles, ammo, and heavy traps. I had the old map fully memorized. We headed west straight toward a place called Bear Ridge, named after the massive black bears locals kept spotting, fishing in the nearby river. My target, rare wild lingy mushrooms, with winter snow completely sealing off these mountains. Absolutely nobody else would be competing for them. And Bear Ridge was rumored to be packed. Liam was nervous, Brother Jack. You don't think we'll actually face a bear up there, do you? I just stayed silent. Believe it or not, I was actually counting on it. It is December, I told Liam. The bears are all fast asleep by now. They head into their dens around mid-November. If we actually bumped into an active one, I would call that insanely lucky. Other kids grew up hearing spooky tales of wolves and terrifying ghosts. Kids around here grew up hearing about bears, smash down doors at midnight, and drag poor children away. Let's be real, those massive beasts actually ate people. But in December, they stayed sleeping underground. And even if one was awake, I had 30 rounds in my assault rifle. A shotgun might not put down a bear, but 30 rifle bullets would. Liam relaxed a bit. He had swapped that old musket for a 16-gauge. Break action today, hoping we would run into wolves or deer, just to get some practice. But hunting was not our real goal today. We finally reached Bear Ridge, and I instantly spotted bright green clumps in the bare treetops. It was wintergreen, a parasitic plant staying green. Even when everything else is completely dead, it grows on other trees, forming messy tangles that look like bird nests. Go ahead and start cutting, I told Liam, passing him a sickle on a long pole. 50 pounds was needed, but wintergreen was pretty cheap. Honestly, it was too common to even sell, but once dried and sliced, it makes an incredibly warm, soothing, and nice gift. Luckily, Liam knew how to harvest the medicinal parts, and he got right to work. I announced I was hunting for lingy mushrooms. If anything goes wrong, blow this whistle. I handed him the plastic whistle and climbed the slope. Finding wild lingy in winter is pretty tough, especially the flat cap variety I wanted, which grows on the roots of dead hardwood trees. Buried under deep snow, you had to dig. But thanks to memories from my past life, I knew this ridge held them. The locations of these plants never change between lifetimes, even if the wildlife wanders around. If my old memories actually hold true here, just watch. Every single secret harvesting spot I mapped over 40 mountain years would instantly belong to me once again. Just minutes in, I spotted one on a birch. Too small, so I left it. I kept pushing upward until I finally reached the exact snowy spot where a massive one should be waiting. Which tree was it? I mumbled. Scanning the steep slope, I could not remember. So I began wiping snow from every single tree base. My hands hit something flat and bumpy nearby. I brushed the snow away, and guys, look at this. A massive flat cap, bigger than my whole torso, sitting right on a dead poplar stump. 28 rings, 28 years. I burst out laughing, and not just because of this find, though it was incredibly gorgeous, with clean, white edges and a pretty perfect surface. No, because this confirmed everything. My past memories were real. Every single herb patch, every ginseng spot, and all the mushroom grounds from my past life was still sitting exactly where it belonged. These mountains hadn't changed. I basically had a lifetime of treasure maps memorized. Slowly, I sawed through the rotten wood, freeing the mushroom, with its wooden base fully intact. It was an absolute masterpiece, the type you'd show off in a rich mansion. It looked like rare coral. I really wanted to keep it, but our tiny cabin had a stove that blasted greasy smoke. Day in, day out, one winter of that, and this rare beauty would end up completely ruined. It was better to save it for someone truly important. I was still admiring the thing when 3 sudden whistle blasts completely shattered the quiet from down below. Then a gunshot. Damn it. Something was wrong. I dropped the lingy into the snow and bolted downhill. More gunshots echoed through the thick trees. The frantic whistle just kept blowing. Liam was running backward uphill toward me, shooting wild. I heard the sheer panic before I even saw it. Down on the frozen river at the base of Bear Ridge, some kids were desperately slipping and sliding on the ice. Liam was blasting his shotgun and blowing his whistle without stopping, and standing right in the center was a terror we didn't expect. A massive black bear, wide awake in mid-December. It stood nearly 7 feet tall on its hind legs, beating its chest with fists like heavy sledgehammers. Those idiot city kids. They actually went and stole a militia rifle, marching straight into the wilderness all by themselves. Now 4 of them were completely trapped on the ice. With a raging beast, their stolen weapons totally useless. In their trembling hands, Liam was 50 yards away, and loading shotgun shells directly at the monster. But from that far back, the pellets just bounced off his thick hide like pebbles. He wasn't even trying to kill it, only desperate to distract it from those kids. Then, one of the hunting hounds charged right in. The massive bear swatted it with one paw. And then came another sickening snap from the hillside. The dog flew right through the cold air and crashed onto the ice. Dark blood poured from its mouth. Dead. Donnie, their ringleader, screamed the instant he saw his dog go down. Something inside him just snapped, and he planted his feet on the ice. He lifted that stolen semi-automatic rifle and emptied all 10 rounds straight at the bear. Every single bullet missed. The guy had 0 shooting experience. His stance was wrong, and his hands shook, and rage made everything even worse. The heavy recoil threw his aim in every direction. 10 shots, and not a scratch on the beast. The beast roared, a deafening sound that shook snow off the trees, and charged right straight at Donnie. That's when I arrived, though I was still a mile out. When I opened up with my Type 56, unleashing full automatic fire. The first quick burst kicked up ice right in front of the bear, forcing it to stop. Honestly, I wasn't close enough for accuracy yet, but the thunderous sound of an assault rifle was something the bear had never heard before, so I kept moving, switching from wild spray fire to aimed, single shots, closer and closer. Several rounds punched deep into the bear's body, striking vital areas. You see, a wounded bear never slows down. It actually speeds up, completely forgetting about the kids on the ice, and turned right toward me, eyes blood red. Charging at full speed, I stopped running, planted my feet, and raised the rifle to my shoulder, breathing steady. The monster's face grew larger with every single heartbeat. Teeth bared, claws extended, close enough to see the thick drool on its lips. 50 yards, 40, 30, one shot right between the eyes. The bear's head snapped violently back. 700 pounds of muscle and fury just froze in midair for half a second, before crashing face first into the freezing snow. The ground literally shook. So the rumors were true about this active winter bear, I muttered, walking toward the beast. Finding an active beast in winter is way more rare than stumbling onto a 50-year-old ginseng, yet here it lay. Liam rushed over, completely pale. Brother Jack, thank God. If those city kids died out here, we are done. The 4 students sat on the ice, like broken dolls, and some actually wet themselves. 3 surviving hunting dogs barked. Danny stared at his dead dog, unable to speak. To be honest, I felt absolutely zero pity. After that past tragedy, 5 students froze to death doing this exact thing. These idiots stole guns and marched into the mountains anyway, utterly convinced they knew better. If Liam and I had not been on Bear Ridge today, all 4 of them would be frozen corpses on this ice. Had they died, I told Liam, they would have deserved it. He saw my rage, so he stayed quiet, stopped standing around. Let us haul this bear back. I had planned to spend days hunting out here, gathering rare herbs, setting winter traps, but just hours in, I had bagged a 300-pound bear, found a 28-year-old mushroom, and gathered wintergreen. But now, we have these clueless city kids to babysit. If I abandoned them out here, they would just find another way to die, and all the blame would somehow land on me. Liam easily read my mind. You seriously want to head back because of them? Shut your mouth and go grab them. We saved their lives. They can help carry this. Liam jogged back over to the group on the ice. One of the city guys, named Victor, kept staring at me from across the clearing. So that is Jack, the guy who married Lucy. Donnie nodded grimly. Victor sighed. What a total waste. A girl that's stunning, married to a total savage. They lived with Lucy at the commune group house before she transferred to our village. The men slept on one side, women on the other. When Lucy married me, nobody from that place came to congratulate her. They kept avoiding her because of her family label. Liam delivered my message. Just help drag the massive bear back to the cabin. But Donnie's reply shocked Liam. He asked how much bear meat they'd get. They demanded the highly valuable bear gall and fat. Give us those, plus extra, or no help. Seriously, can you believe their sheer nerve? I had just saved them from the brink of death, and before the terror even faded from their bodies, they were already claiming my best spoils. Bear gall was worth a massive fortune as medicine, and winter bear fat was incredibly thick and plentiful. It was highly valued for cooking and healing. Have you guys completely lost your minds? Liam sputtered in disbelief while Donnie crossed his arms. Donnie claimed they found it first, losing their dog fighting. Asking for a share was pretty reasonable, apparently. The other three leaned on each other, nodding along. They lost their dog and almost died today. Going home empty-handed would just be way too humiliating. Liam ran back. He expected me to grab my gun and handle this. Instead, I stayed calm. If they refuse to help, we won't force them. I will drag the bear back myself. Liam, go grab that dead dog of theirs. We are definitely having dog meat hot pot tonight. Liam blinked. That is their dog. There is no way they will just let us take it. My eyes swept across the cold ice, right to where Donnie and his friends huddled. I wanted dog meat tonight, and I was getting it. Follow me. If they have any objections, we'll reason with them. Liam followed, totally confused. He had never actually seen me reason with anyone. I used a gun on Kong. For Greg, my fists did the job. And for the forestry station, bribery works, since talking is not my style. So, I tied a thick rope around the bear's front legs, dragging 300 pounds of dead weight across the freezing snow, onto the ice, pulling it straight toward the kids. Donnie and his crew watched me come closer, trading panicky looks. They had just watched me fire an assault rifle, from a whole mile off, without clipping a single person or their dog, before dropping a massive charging bear with one clean shot, from 50 yards away. Whatever courage they had, was draining out of them pretty fast, yet Donnie still thought they had a claim here. To him, they spotted the beast first, and their hound had paid the ultimate price, making the prize somewhat theirs. Oh, this kid is about to get a brutal reality check. Liam, grab the dog. We are leaving. I did not waste another breath on those punks. Liam walked right up to the dead dog on the ice, but the other three surviving dogs began barking at him. Donnie snapped, "Hey, that is my dog. What do you think you are doing?" I gave him the look you reserve for a clueless child, playing pretend soldier with a stolen rifle in his hands. It was basically just a noisy toy. He had fired 10 rounds, and somehow missed a target as massive as a truck. It was yours, now it is mine. What kind of crazy logic is that? When did I ever mention giving anything back to you? The giant bear killed your dog. That makes the hound the bear's property. And I killed the bear. So, the bear's loot is now my property. That is how things work. Donnie had used that exact garbage logic on Liam earlier. I was just returning the favor, while scoring myself a solid meal in the process. That is bandit logic, Donnie screamed, pointing at me, yelling bandit logic. Let me ask you something before the liberation happened. Chang's army seized weapons from the occupying invaders. And then, our soldiers defeated Chang. Did those weapons belong only to Chang, so should our army have returned them? I paused, then looked at Donnie. I think your thinking has some major problems. Extremely serious problems. His face paled. In this era, having your thoughts labeled as problematic carried a weight that could destroy you. He could not follow my logic any further, without digging himself into a deep political trap. You are twisting concepts, he stammered. Donnie, just forget it. Victor tugged his arm. Let us head back to the group house, and speak to the Commune Party secretary instead. He will help you get your dog back. The others crowded around Donnie and quickly dragged him away. They completely forgot about demanding bear gall. And the bear fat, fear does that to you. On the trail back, Liam carried that heavy dead dog over his shoulder, and hauled the wintergreen on his back. Grinning widely, he muttered, Brother Jack, you are incredible. You completely silenced those arrogant city kids. Honestly, you are far smarter than all of them combined. I did not deny it. In my past life, I had mastered literature, economics, finance, mathematics. After retiring from the mercenary business, I had sat across negotiation tables, opposite powerful men from every single country, and successfully backed them into corners. A few arrogant 20-year-olds stood absolutely zero chance. Teach me how to argue like that. Liam begged. I'm hopeless. They make me so angry. I cannot think. I considered his request seriously. Liam would definitely face more trouble without me around. He needed something better than mere words. Liam, do you have a portrait pin of our great leader at home? The kind that everyone owns, sure. Every family has one, right? I grinned, telling him to keep it under his shirt. Next time someone tries to pick a fight, let them strike you right where that pin is, then show them what they actually hit. Liam's jaw dropped, and he began to name it, before stopping as the realization hit like a thunderbolt. He groaned, calling me the absolute worst person. Maybe so, but playing a little dirty sometimes keeps you from becoming everyone's favorite punching bag. I tried playing nice. I wanted to get those kids safely home, even letting them help carry the massive bear. My reward, nothing. demands for the most valuable parts of my kill, from the people I just saved from death. Kindness is totally wasted on people who don't appreciate it. Far behind us on the ice. Meanwhile, those 4 kids are just watching us walk away. And Donnie absolutely refused to go home empty-handed. He'd wasted ammo, gotten his hunting dog killed, and lost the body, all while getting humiliated by a local hunter. Going back like this was completely unbearable. I figured out the safety on these rifles. He announced, "We have loaded guns. If we meet another beast, we won't run." Victor egged the other boys on. "Are we really heading back to the lodge empty-handed? And what do we tell the party secretary? To ask for favors, we need impressive game as gifts." The 2 who had wet themselves, they hesitated, terrified. But Victor knew exactly which buttons to push. He smirked, asking if they liked the lodge girls. Imagine those girls finding out. You literally pissed yourselves over a bear. That did the trick. They straightened right up, their faces burning. "Let's go. We are not returning home without any trophies." Honestly, these total fools with their stolen guns, venturing deeper into the mountains, that had nearly killed them already. I never looked back.